Welcome to Truth Sentinel, watching over the truth in the news. Welcome, Seth. We've come to our fourth call-in chat show. How are you?
Oh, pretty good, Scott. How about yourself?
Pretty good, thanks. I was actually going to check whether we'd gone live, but my system of doing that has failed me. I'm just checking on my phone, but I can't. Oh yeah, sorry, we have gone live. There we go. It
Perfect.
takes a while. It takes a while to update, so that's good. Yeah, I'm fine actually. Basically, the weather for the last couple of weeks here in Thailand has just been fantastic. So no
The exact
complaints here.
opposite of here. The exact opposite of here. It's been absolutely fucking apocalyptic with the snow and whatnot here, man. It's complete 180. But at the same time, appreciate it, man. Enjoy the warm weather while it lasts.
I am being attacked by some insects at the moment, though. Yeah, no, I'm really loving it actually. A couple of weeks ago, I moved into a new place, and it really is amazing how a change of scenery can really affect your mood. I feel great. I mean, I've got a little garden where I am now. Basically, this is one of the advantages of the fact the whole tourist industry has collapsed here in Thailand because there's no traveling. Is all the prices of accommodation have gone right down. So I've managed to move into a place where I've got a garden. You're like twice as nice as the place I was in before for half the price. So yeah, I mean, I hate to benefit from this whole COVID thing, but I can't ignore that kind of offer, you know. So here in Thailand, yeah, if we start off with COVID and the pandemic, here in Thailand, it's much the same. Businesses are collapsing. The tourist industry is dead here, and I'm on a kind of tourist island. But apart from that, lockdowns have kind of ended in where I am, although I know in parts of Thailand it may not be the same. There are some areas where there's still lockdowns, but here, pretty much free to go. A lot of, like I said, just businesses are closing. How about where you are, sir?
Oh, where I'm at, it's pretty much some of the same old. Can you like spitball for a moment? I gotta let dogs out so they don't keep
Sure, yeah,
fucking
yeah.
barking.
Yeah, if you put it on mute for a while, yeah, I'll keep going. Basically, while Seth's gone, let me give you a roundup of what we'll be doing today. It's going to be a call-in show, as before. We'll start off with our little chit-chat on world news, censorship, which is particularly relevant as our last call-in show number 3, was taken down by YouTube as we expressed views about the last election that were inappropriate and unacceptable. So, of course, I would like to start by saying that there was nothing wrong with the last election. It was completely above board. Of course, you all know that as well. And I think, on the same vein, we should probably say that there was nothing dodgy about Hunter Biden's laptop either. And most of the videos he had on there were squeaky clean. Is that not
Of course.
right, Seth?
Of course, absolutely. It sounds like one of the most what is it? The most secure election in U.S. history. I mean, and it's
That's right.
amazing that they managed to do this when only 4 years ago there was so much problem with that corruption with that Donald Trump election. My goodness, isn't it wonderful that they did so much to try and impeach him now after he's out of office? After he's
Yeah.
out of office, and I mean, I couldn't quite believe that they just couldn't get it. I mean, especially after Trump's legal team came out and said, you did exactly what we are being accused of doing, and yeah, you did it way harder, way more aggressively, and no one's being called out, no one's being impeached over that. Uh, so I don't know, man. How I just have no idea how they couldn't just barely manage to impeach Donald Trump after he's out of office. Just I wonder
Well,
why.
it's weird. I tuned in to the one of the live parts of that. I wasn't that interested, but I did tune in, and just to literally about 5 minutes worth of it. And as I tuned in, someone withdrew their vote from something they were voting on, and then asked the speaker what they were voting on. And as the and this was while the results of the vote were being read out, and then the chairperson said that he was not allowed to ask what they were voting on, which it just seemed like a shambles.
What are
The
you
guy
talking
was
about, Scott?
asking.
That's the most secure court case in American history. What are you
I
talking
apologize. I'm so sorry, Seth. I really lost myself there. Of course, no, it was fine. I tuned in and everything was going smoothly and it was very well organized. Um, yeah, so we can talk about the impeachment, although I wasn't really looking too much into that. Other things that I came across, back onto the deadly pandemic, and I'm not being sarcastic there. Um, it's um, it's terrible. Yeah. New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, sorry, ordered the country's biggest city, Auckland, to go into lockdown after the discovery of guess how many cases, Seth?
Let me guess one.
Oh, now that would be ridiculous. There was three cases, Seth. There was three cases.
That's just science, Scott. That's just
Yep.
science. Why wouldn't they do that? Ruin the livelihoods and lives of millions of people for 3 cases. Come on, man.
Three cases,
And that's
and
after they claimed they eradicated it. So if somehow they eradicated it and there was no more of it, how did it come back? If they don't have travel into the country or out of the country, they have everything shut down. Curious.
Yeah,
Curious.
nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
That sounds like common sense to me. Three cases
indeed.
of something that's. I read also recently that scientists have said that it's ridiculous to compare COVID-19 and the flu, and saying that they're the same, because
Well, yeah, 'cause
scientists
COVID
have now
eradicated
said.
the flu. Oh.
Yeah, no, scientists have now said, Seth, that it's 3 times worse than the flu. So all the world's crashing of the world's economy is actually totally warranted because it's
Yeah,
three
it's
times
basically
worse than the flu.
MH370, but like every day for eternity, ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. You got to watch out for those viruses, man. They're pretty smart, Scott. Anyways, here, let me let the dogs in here. Just one sec.
Okay, sure, yeah. So what I was kind of indicating by saying that is, even if that were true, this is the thing about the whole pandemic situation for me. You don't even need to bring conspiracies into it, and I personally do think the whole thing was planned. But that's just an opinion. Are we allowed to have opinions? You'll have to ask YouTube that, because I'm not sure we are. But basically, yeah. Three people warrant an entire lockdown, and on the staying on just that number three reminded me that scientists have now said that COVID-19 is 3 times as worse. And even if that were true, I'd take my chances with a virus that was 3 times worse than the flu. It doesn't send me into like massive trembling and fear if you say, "Oh my God, it's 3 times worse than the flu."
Well, Scott, you know what they say? 3 is a magic number. And it's
Dude,
just
there's a rap about that as well.
it's so coincidental, we'll say. Almost like the universe is trying to give us a message when 3 cases of COVID. I mean, come on, 3 times deadlier. I'm surprised they didn't say it was 33 times deadlier. My goodness. But it was 33 cases in Auckland. I mean, whoo.
That would have been scary, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the subtlety appears to have gone right out the window. We call that defenestration, Scott. We call that defenestration. Right
That's
out
a
the
long
window.
word.
Right out the window. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Let me remind everyone before we continue, this is a call-in show.
Exists.
Oh, there will be a lot of sarcasm as our last episode was removed, and then YouTube sent me a message saying if we do it again, the whole channel is going down. So this might be our last episode. It really might. I'm not joking, because basically it seems like if you don't agree with the official narrative on everything, you're going to be off YouTube. So we are seeking alternatives. But let me just remind you about today's show before we go on to what measures we're going to take to ensure we can continue. If you want to join us, I did post the link in the chat there, so you can see that at the top. If you want to come and join us, you can do so by clicking on the link. There are some instructions if you click on the show notes, but you don't really need them. But just basically switch your video off before joining us. It helps with the bandwidth. And when we're ready to bring you in, we'll bring you in. If you can, if you do have a headset and microphone, it would be advisable, but we'll see how the sound is when you join us. If you prefer to leave a voicemail for this show or another show, you'll probably find a link in the show notes for the blogspot.com Truth Sentinel 9 link. That'll take you to where you can leave a voicemail. What else do I need to tell you? That's probably about it for the moment. So, Seth, let's start talking about some of the news that's caught your eye. What has caught your eye this week?
Oh, there's some good science we should talk about there, Scott. Something the CDC was just putting out and talking with everybody. And I'd like to redirect quotes so that you know I'm not spreading any disinformation. This is verifiable science here, okay? Because everybody
Please, Seth, we don't want any speculation because we know what problems that causes.
Well, we have here from the CDC a thing on maximizing fit for cloth and medical procedure masks. It says in lab tests with dummies, exposure to potentially infectious aerosols decreased by about 95% when they were both both wore tightly fitted masks. Lab test dummies, indeed. Two particular quotes that I found very interesting in this, because the CDC and now, of course, all of their, let's say, little helpers in the news, wonderful little helpers in the news that love to parrot their talking points. Well, here's a few quotes, choice quotes from this article, or rather from this scientific study here. Quote, the findings of these simulations should neither be generalized to the effectiveness of all medical procedure masks or cloth masks, nor interpreted as being representative of the effectiveness of these masks when worn in real-world settings. And another quote, truly choice here, double masking might impede breathing, or obstruct peripheral vision for some wearers, and knotting or tucking can change the shape of the mask such that it no longer covers fully both the nose and mouth of persons with larger faces, as well as those with beards.
I can't see how wearing two masks would restrict your breathing at all, Seth. I see no problem with that.
Box, like 3 or like 4 to 14, 17 maybe.
Yeah, that seems logical.
Why don't we just instead put, black garbage bags on people's heads? We can use like rubber bands to tie them real tight right around the neck there to make sure that none of that icky, evil oxygen can get in there, and that 100% science can be all that you rebreathe over and over again all day. Well,
talking of science and statistics, I noticed someone else was sharing a video this week on the CDC site as well, showing the number of people who died since within 7 days of taking the vaccine. Nobody's publicizing it, but apparently that stat does exist on the CDC website, and it was pretty high apparently. So, and there was details of each case. I don't know if you can find that at some point, either today or next time, Seth. But of course, even if the CDC does say that some people may have become deceased since 7 days within taking the vaccine, I can't possibly comment on that. I'm sure it's probably inaccurate information. Seth, what do you think?
Naturally. Anything that goes against the narrative that they tell me at the moment must be infactual.
Personally, I think when I'm low in energy, I think an injection of some kind of vaccine will probably make me feel better, if anything.
Well, I think anybody watching right now would benefit heavily from reading Dog Lore's comment here. I can't quite read that aloud lest we get banned, apparently, from, the godchild of YouTube who decides what is fact and what is not fact. It's amazing that a single fact checker is all it takes to take down an entire video.
Oh, wait a moment. Should we allow Dog Law to say this? I mean, he's basically said he's arguing with, he's just arguing with the BBC here, I think, saying that a fabric mouth covering will not stop viral particles. I mean, should we delete Dog Law from the chat? Can we allow this?
I don't think we should, just because he disagrees with British brainwashing control freaks. BBC, whatever that stands for, right?
Hmm.
Whatever the,
Well,
the
okay.
gods at BBC decide that we're allowed to say and whatnot. It's wonderful, isn't it? Isn't it a great world, Scott? You know, all this lack of
Mm.
censorship everywhere. It's just so free. It's just so free to be able to talk about things. Isn't a freedom great? I mean, you're not even
Well,
in America, the land of freedom, as we
you
have
live
here.
in the land of the free, so you're pretty much free to say anything you want, Seth, apart from the long list of things that you're now no longer allowed to
Naturally,
say.
because that stuff is double
Yeah.
plus ungood. Okay.
Yeah. The thing I noticed in the news today was this. That made me feel a lot safer, Seth. I have to say, it's made me feel a whole lot safer, and I'm really looking forward to hearing the results. Is the World Health Organization going into China to investigate where the leak came from? Sorry, not where the leak, whether a leak came from the lab in China, and I'm totally confident that China will tell them what they need. I mean, what they need to know, and we'll all be wiser after the mission team has come away and can tell us what's happened.
If I can be completely brutal right here on some honesty tip, we've always been at war with East Asia. We've always been at war with Eurasia, regardless of what it flips back and forth between all of the insanity that people want to throw back and forth of the idea that, you know, this all started with China and everything. It really, truly feels like the mind virus. Let's be honest. We're talking about the really, truly most infectious and dangerous of all viruses here. Authoritarianism, control freaks, the worst of all, apathy, or rather acceptance of the orders of others. It truly seems like this entire argument, whether or not there are little tiny evil particulates of a particular protein floating around or whatever, a particular non-intelligent, unless you're talking to the people on the news, in which case it's an intelligent protein that knows particularly how to do all this stuff. Whether or not there is that, personally, I'm not going to argue with people on whether or not there is that. I don't think there is, personally, at least as far as an actual threat to the world that came from China. I think that this feels very much so like a distraction, something to get people to continue arguing over whether or not this came from him, this came from here, because when they're busy pointing fingers at each other and other nations, they're not looking directly at the very people responsible for all of this. Who is the world or the country's largest owner now here in the United States of farmland? William B. Gates. Billy Boy. Certainly seems like Billy Boy is very, very active. And he's also a member of the World Economic Forum. Imagine that. Klaus Schwab, the you will have nothing and be happy, or you will own nothing and you will be happy guy. He's a member of the World Economic Forum.
Well, there
So
was
is
some.
Vladimir Putin. So is Xi Jinping, who we were just talking about in China there, who had to go back to China immediately after his World Economic Forum appearance, where he's talking about the Great Reset and the importance of the Great Reset, in order to, make sure the World Health Organization officials can go and investigate things. My particular problem with all this is it plays into the idea that somehow China is trying to hide the truth about this, when in reality, it's not one particular nation. It's all the nations. And they're not trying to hide the truth about of its origins. They're trying to keep you from realizing the giant hammer over your head and the giant sickle that's about to follow it, if you get my feeling, bud.
Well, yeah, I think it's just most of what we see in the news is just a puppet show playing out. So I'm sure the team that going in, they might not be even going in to be investigating what the news says they're investigating. They might be going in to do something else with the Chinese fully cooperative of what they're up to.
Yep.
How do we know? I mean,
well, as you brought up with that trial there, Scott, the impeachment trial, some of these guys apparently had no idea what they were even voting on.
Yeah,
period.
It did appear so, and they weren't allowed to know.
How would we know what the fuck they're voting on? How would we know what they're actually doing if even they don't know? Which should tell you, it's almost like there's somebody at the top of the pyramid calling orders that all these compartmentalized brainlets are following no matter what. Whether or not they're the sort of orders that are literally going to lead these people down the garden path, it doesn't matter, because to them, well, I'm a part of the system. This is how things are supposed to be. When in reality, they're the very first people that are going to be thrown to us filthy, evil, unwashed masses. happens the second people wake up and start getting restless. Let's just say restless, because I would never advocate for civil disobedience or violence or anything, guys. That would be wrong. That sort of stuff is terrible, unless it's the government doing it and engaging in force against people, because that's cool, right? You know, because I mean, Joe Biden, the greatest, most peaceful man in the world, is now in charge of the United States and has definitely not already threatened invasion on foreign nations. Definitely
no, Seth. Biden is a wonderful man, and I wanted to talk a little bit about one thing you brought up about the old debate: is there a virus or not? Because I have heard it does seem like people switch into one camp and they will not have any discussion with the other side. It's like, personally, I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm like, I could see how the pandemic could be created without a virus, but I still think it might be a good idea to have a disease in the background. So I think there probably is a disease as well. There can be both, but at the end of the day, it hardly even matters at the end of the day, does it?
Well, yeah, because the end result is the same, whether or not there is a disease or not. The end result is still the Great Reset. The end result is the world economy in shambles and everybody completely and totally prepped for universal basic income and all these other solutions that government has just waiting here. It's almost like that whole Hegel thing of a problem, reaction, and solution. It's amazing. It's almost like they had all of this stuff ready beforehand. There's a certain book by a Mr. Klaus Schwab, if you ever get a chance to look it up there, of COVID-19 and the Great Reset, or COVID-19.
Well, I thought we could talk about that a bit later, but before we do, let's bring in one of our callers here. Just Perfect. First of all, let's just check if we can hear them properly. That's always the first thing. So let's just bring him in first of all. Hello there. Can you hear us? You might need to switch your microphone on, by the way. I can see you're muted at the moment. Hello there.
Hello. Nice to see you guys. Can you hear me?
A little
bit. A little bit muffled. Let's try again. Maybe just say hello again and we'll see how clear it is. It's always, I like these.
Here, how about this? Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, welcome. What's your name? If you'd like to give it, of course.
Well, actually, my name is Brittany, and I've been, following your guys' show for a long time now. And I just wanted to say, it's awesome to hear you guys talking about this kind of stuff.
Well, it's awesome to have you join us, Brittany. Yeah, I'm glad. How long have you been listening then? How many years or months?
I've been following Seth since he was doing Two Real News.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So it's been a while. It's been a while. That's only like 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, Brittany, what did you want to bring up today? Seem to have lost you a bit there.
Honestly, I wasn't intending on getting on the show. I was just watching. So you guys can just go ahead and follow along with I'll just follow along with what you guys are talking about.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, you're welcome to listen on the side. But I mean, if there was anything that that grabbed your attention over the last couple of months or so, feel free to give us a prompt, and we'll discuss that. I'll just give you one last opportunity, but you're quite welcome just to listen, of course.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. It's just so great to hear you guys talking about stuff.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Brittany. Yeah, it's really nice, actually. I don't know about you, Seth, but I just like the fact that we can even just a quick hello from people who've been listening for a while is nice, because after a while, if we've been doing these shows for years, and after a while, you feel that if you don't have any contact with listeners, then you kind of wonder if anyone's out there, kind of thing, don't you? Sometimes, Seth?
Yeah, you start to feel like you're just a crazy person talking to a wall. What is it? I hate to have to reference it because I hate Tom Hanks, but what is it, like Castaway? Just talking to a goddamn volleyball over and over again. At times, that's what it feels like until you actually have people, engaging with you, and it's really, really cool.
It is, yes. So thanks for that, Brittany. That was really nice of you to come and say hello. Yeah, it does after a while. It does after a while feel like you're not necessarily talking to anyone. So even just a friendly voice. But you mentioned Tom Hanks there, Seth, and that's a topic in itself. because I used to quite like Tom Hanks because,
Me
well,
too.
I particularly liked Forrest Gump the movie. I kind of liked that movie. The only reason I've gone off Tom Hanks maybe in the last few months is because of what the things I heard Isaac Cappy say about him. Of course, you can't just accuse someone and not show any evidence, but I feel like the fact that Isaac Cappy said that and named him by name, he must have had something that made him say that. I mean, Tom Hanks has then disappeared off all social media, um, Twitter,
Didn't
Facebook.
he also
Since that
renounce his
was,
U.S. citizenship as well and like moved to Australia permanently or something?
there was lots of weird goings on, wasn't there? He was
Yeah.
supposed to have gone to Greece, yeah. Then he started since Biden was came into power, allegedly, according to QAnons, he's not really president, but then Tom Hanks seems to have come out of the woodwork a little bit. I mean, the story was, for those who aren't familiar, that Isaac Cappy named Tom Hanks as part of this dark paedophile network, and he was a big supplier of this adrenochrome. I don't know if it's true, but there was definitely some suspicious things going on. And actually, one of our Truth Sentinel contributors, Tracy Twyman, was getting heavily involved with Isaac Cappy, was in contact with him, and I believe was even supposed to be meeting him possibly the day or of his death, or going to the same campground where there was something suspicious going on. And then Tracy Twyman mysteriously ends up dead. And no one's really investigated that. I still don't know what's gone on there. No one. I've done a bit of research. I can't seem to find out what exactly happened to her. So if anyone out there does know what happened to Tracy Twyman, her death seems very suspicious. Apparently, from what I heard, she was found hanging in the garage, and this was all in connection with the Isaac Cappy information. And Isaac Cappy, on the day of his death, was supposed to be going to this campground that Tracy Twyman was also investigating. And people who got involved with that seemed to be having problems of being, their computers were being hacked into. This was happening to Tracy Twyman as well. There was messages flashing up on the screen. She was getting very scared before her death, so something was up. So that's the Tom Hanks connection anyway.
Indeed. And, there's a reason they call it suicided. You know what I mean?
Yeah, although we're not suggesting for a second that happened, of course, Seth.
Naturally, because we don't question things here.
We do not.
Why would anyone question anything? From the official sources. From the official sources is the only thing you can talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely
if the BBC says it,
to Scott's BitChute channel so that we can definitely not continue talking about this stuff. Definitely not on a platform that doesn't actively censor people, because I know that I would not recommend to anyone at all that you immediately get off YouTube, subscribe on BitChute, go to any other goddamn website on the net other than continuing to support the beast of Google and YouTube. For the love of God, use a search engine like fucking Ecosia or some shit that's just not Google. But I mean, don't do that. Don't do that. Instead, support the beast. Support the beast, because they care so much about you. Susan Wojcicki is just such a nice lady at YouTube. I definitely don't get angry whenever I see her in my fucking recommended feed. Definitely don't get that.
We love YouTube, and we really appreciate the services they offer. Another thing in the news linked to the Great Reset. I thought we could move on to the Great Reset. I noticed it says Elon Musk, the world's richest man, is about to get a whole lot richer. And that really made me happy to hear that, because I do like to hear about rich people getting richer. And it kind of reminded me of what you were saying earlier about the Great Reset, and that Schwab guy who was on his page, it was saying you won't earn anything. And I mentioned last episode, I think, as well, it's like I'm a bit torn here, because obviously, I'm not going to be happy with the Great Reset, but I wondered how you feel about the whole concept of ridiculously rich people. Anyway, though, Seth, it's partly a different subject, really, but I do think it wouldn't be such a bad thing if we could get some of the wealth from this 1% of all these billionaires and Scott, spread it out a bit more evenly.
You notice the quote, though, from Klaus Schwab isn't that we will own nothing and we will be happy. It's you will own nothing.
Well,
And you will
exactly.
be
Yeah,
happy.
yeah, yeah. So the rich people are still going to be rich. Yeah. So which is
Exactly.
what I'm saying is though. What about would you be in favor of a redistribution of wealth? So all these ridiculously rich trillionaires, billionaires, some of that could be spread out a bit. What do you think, Seth?
Unfortunately, I know this isn't going to be a popular one, but I say no, because the fact
Yeah.
is, with a second we have government or anybody in charge of this, who is the man who is given godlike authority to decide who is the have and who is the have not, of what arbitrary amount of money is enough, and why do we give that to all these other people? It's the same problem I have with universal basic income. It's the same problem I have with this entire idea of equity. Equity is a communist or a socialist buzzword that they use as a euphemism for controlled theft. This is literally all it is just controlled theft. We steal from those that we arbitrarily say have too much. It doesn't matter if that too much comes from their contrived ideas of white privilege or whatever, right? They'll come up with racial overtones to it. They'll come up with economic overtones to it. They'll come up with social or religious overtones to it. But all it is controlled theft. In the exact same way that their buzzword term diversity just means controlled racism. It is racism and bigotry thrown upon certain groups of people when it is decided to be okay. I mean, a great example of this, while I'm, not a fan of getting the stabbies and whatnot, all up in the veins there. There's believe a Indian American doctor that just got in a bunch of shit for daring to give the vaccines that he had because they were about to go bad to what they noticed too many Indian Americans that he was giving it to. So because again, their entire thing is this weird arbitrary idea of you've taken care of you've helped too many white people, too many brown people, too many black people, too many yellow people, too many red people, too many whatever, right? You fill in the blank with whatever group of people. We decided you don't need to keep helping those people anymore. And then
Yeah, but Seth,
yes, sir.
Let's focus on this distribution of wealth a bit. Because I think it'd be good to discuss this. I actually don't know where I stand totally on it, but I thought it'd be an interesting angle to discuss. Because the way I look at it, the problem is the distribution at the source. Like if you've got a big company, I've never thought that the guy at the top, the CEO, I've never thought they should get 95% of the money anyway. Why? Everyone else is literally doing all the work. Everyone else in the company is literally doing all the work, and they get I'm just guessing. Let's say they get a 2% of the entire profits of the company, whereas the CEO these are the billionaires. Why do they get the billions? I don't think that's right. I think they don't do the work that in the same ratio of the pay they get. I don't care what kind of pressure they're under. They get the harder questions. They get the more difficult decisions. Fine, you can give them more money, but why do they get such an unfair amount of the profits? Nobody needs £1 billion. Nobody needs that. So surely something could be done so that people who work. Why shouldn't people who work in a company that's making billions, let's say, why shouldn't they get 10 times more and the CEO gets 10 times less?
That's just the thing, though, Scott. If those people get 10 times more, regardless of the amount of money that they're making, it's that many resources spread thinner between less and less people, because you can't actively have people continuing to get more and then have as many employees as you have. You will have less employees. That is a fucking fact every single time. In the same way as wealth distribution when it comes to a particular company. Those that are higher in the hierarchy there, not only have more money that they've put into being specialized in their particular fields. When it comes to CEOs, though, and people that actually own this, in some cases, you're talking about the builder of a business him getting paid more in all this. I don't know about him getting 95% of the profits, because I don't know any business where any particular person gets 95% of the profits. You could say he gets 300% more than some, you know what I mean? Some average.
Yeah, they get thousands. They get thousands of percent. I mean, look at Elon Musk.
Great
example.
He
I don't know how many billions he's got, but he's got way more than one person would ever need 1,000 times over. So why is he getting that? He works,
my only argument with this, Scott, would be need, because when it comes to it, technically, as all these great reset lunatics and all the fucking commies love to say. You don't need money. You need food. You need water. You need all this, but you don't need money. And they throw arbitrary little things on it like that in order to have a fucking qualification for it. But what one man needs, it's the same problem I have with the idea of standard of living. When somebody goes, oh, what's a living wage going to be at, right? A living wage changes from person to person. How much you need or don't need changes from person to person. I hate to have to quote, God damn, I can't remember the exact football player that they were bitching about on the news of how much money these guys get paid. And this guy said, we get paid a lot of money, but we spend a lot of money too. And people are like, oh God, that's so stupid. Yet every single rich person spends an ungodly amount of money that employs shitloads of other people. And as much as people say trickle down economics is so stupid, the only people that are saying that is jealous assholes that are viewing the guy that has a bunch, and instead of saying, man, how do I make that much? How do I become successful? How do I make sure that I can make my people successful? So overall, and when I say my people, I don't give a shit if you're talking about you, your friends, your family, your state, your community, your freaking country, your race, your ethnicity, whatever. If you want to make those people successful, instead of looking at someone that has and going, no one should have this much and try and tear them down, build you up. Build them up. I understand that life is tilted. The game is rigged. However, the moral consistency is very important to have there, because I can't become the monster to rob somebody like Elon Musk of what I view as ill-gotten gains without becoming the monster myself. And that's a fact.
I don't know that because Elon Musk, let's look at his bank account as being the monster. I don't know him personally, but he's getting too much on a base level. He's getting too much the share of what the company's making, and it's not because he's working harder than everyone else. That's my point.
Scott, we as individual people could change that at any moment. I mean, granted, once people have made it so big that governments are the ones buying this out, then, and you know what I mean, giving him contracts and stuff, at that point it started to reach a level that you and I have less individual power over this. But most people could change this very easily in a heartbeat by not buying anything that Tesla produces. Not buying anything that they fucking produce. And people like roll their eyes at the boycott thing like it's the stupidest idea in the world. And yet there's a reason. There is nothing these guys fear more than BDS. They do.
Yeah, but that's Tesla and Elon Musk are just an example. I'm talking about the whole system. Like, would it be wrong for just people to get a better share, a share they deserve of the work? Why is the guy working in Tesco's getting such a small amount compared to the CEO when they're doing the work, where they're running the store, the managers are running the store, the workers are running the store? I think we could address an issue here. I think people could have a fairer share. I don't care about communist systems and socialism. That I'm just saying there's an inequality there. Could that not be addressed in any way, do you think, somehow?
Very easily. However, I would also recommend that there's a particular group of people that decided to fuse the right-wing view of nationalism and that idea of, taking care of the community and the individual community you're a part of being one of the most important things there. And I think you know where I'm going with this, Scott. And then they took the other side of the aisle there and socialism and the idea of social outreach programs. And they fused nationalism and socialism into one thing there. And we consider those people to be the biggest monsters in human history. So I don't know, man. I'm not telling you how to feel about it or anything like that. But I am saying that you can't just start arbitrarily giving the government the power to
wait a moment, Seth.
Because that's the only people that are going to take the fucking...
Seth, I think you've misunderstood me. I'm not talking about the government being involved here at all. Necessarily. I don't even think we even need the government in the kind of
agreed
system the way it is at the moment. I think we could strip down the government, take away 90% of all the crap and rubbish that the government's made of, and just have an administrative section there. What's that noise, by the way? Can you hear that noise?
Could I say something for a second?
Oh yeah, Brittany. Yeah, wow, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah.
I just wanted to chime in with my 2 cents and say that that I think that the morality of the question that you're asking, Scott, is more complicated than you realize, because when you are talking about redistributing wealth or taking it from the top of a company and choosing to increase the wages of the smaller people, we're not realizing that you are kind of messing with a system that's already worked out. No company is paying people more than they can afford. And it's morally wrong to assume that how much is fair for one person to have. It's morally wrong to take money from people that isn't yours to delegate. If the CEO of the company may be making more money, and it might be for reasons we don't understand, but that doesn't mean that we have the right to decide what is fair for other people and how much should be given. It's the whole conundrum with the minimum wage. As soon as you start giving the smaller employees more and more money, everything is going to cost more. And so the minimum wage inflation costs for everything go up. And so it's just a system that doesn't work. And
You
it
may be
does
right.
sound very socialistic, honestly.
You may be right, Brittany. What I'm because I'm not an economist, clearly, so I'm only kind of discussing. But rather than saying we're giving these people more money and we're stealing from the CEO, I think the CEO has stolen in the first place. That's what I'm saying, and I'm trying to think if I'm just discussing whether there's a solution. Because would you agree, Brittany, that we don't need trillionaires and billionaires, and that it's pointless for them to have all that money? And that there is poverty in the world, and is there something we can do? That's kind of what I'm saying. Is there a way we can change this so we don't have this ridiculous, incorrect distribution of wealth?
Well, I don't think that there is such a thing as incorrect distribution of wealth. People earn money based on their actions and what they do.
But
So if you
the
want
point
to
is,
change it, the reason why the CEO has so much money is because he started a business. If you want that much money, then start a business and have it
uh,
be very, very successful. It's a
let's
free
take
market
Elon Musk.
concept.
Let's take Elon Musk for example. He didn't start the Tesla business, for example. Why is he getting this unfair share of the money?
Well, he's getting a lot of money because he has government contracts. And he also has made a monopoly in his business. He's the only one doing what he does. So those two things in combination create everybody who wants what he has to go to him. So therefore, he has total control over the market flow of that industry.
Yeah, I understand he has the power. I'm just saying, should he have the power? And
Well, the solution to fix it would be to make sure that our upper and middle class understands that they also have that power and they can make any business that they want to. And if, as long as it's successful, then they'll be successful just like that. As long as we work on the situation where it becomes harder and harder for small businesses to become successful.
the way I see it, and again, I must stress I'm not an economist, when products and services are sold, prices are set, and then the wealth of who's going the wages, who's going to get what is decided. At that stage, someone's deciding that the CEO or the people at the top are going to get. Let's simplify it. They're going to get a massive percentage of it, and all the people at the bottom, like if you look at someone's just posted about vaccines. Let's take vaccines. Bill Gates. He's getting millions, perhaps trillions, and all the guys that are involved in this vaccine program are getting the trillions. The little guys making the stuff are getting virtually nothing. Everyone else is paying for these vaccines. I'm just saying, is not the inequality and the theft and the fraud, if you like, is that not occurring when the decisions are being made about who gets what? I don't think Elon Musk in his typical day is earning the money. He didn't set up the company Tesla, and I think I do agree that the people who set up the companies, who make the investments, they should get a lot more than the worker gets. But I just don't think I think they're getting far too much of it. I don't think we have to steal from them. I just don't know whether they're getting the money they deserve in the first place.
I would say that Brittany's thing about Elon Musk having a monopoly and whatnot, that's definitely something that government would be there for and should be there for, of making sure that there aren't actual monopolies so that people can break those up individually. Because if there is a monopoly, then literally no competition can happen. And competition is supposed to be one of the foundational principles of free market economics. However, I wanted to bring this up because this is just following it to a logical conclusion, something along the lines of, if there are poor people, should there be people that are billionaires and trillionaires? Is very akin to saying, if there are
that was my
people that
next
are
question.
malnourished, or if there are people that are malnourished, that are truly malnourished, people that just can't even get food to eat, if they're starving, should there be fat people? If there's people that are weak, should there be strong people? If there's people that can't walk, should there be people that can walk? At what point do we decide to make everyone equal? Because any form of inequality becomes bad.
I don't think we should make everyone equal.
Examples.
Yeah, I don't think we should make everyone equal. That's what I'm. And by the way, I'm only discussing this, and I'm not saying I believe. I'm just kind of trying to get to the bottom of this, because I heard a woman on some program, might have been on the BBC, saying we don't need billionaires, and actually the panel were all arguing with her, and they were saying she was arguing nobody needs to be a billionaire, and all the panel were really attacking her, and I was thinking I find myself agreeing with her a bit, like. Nobody need. If we have that problem that you don't need $1 billion, would you agree? Let's start at that stage. Would you agree nobody needs to have $1 billion? So.
I can't, because I have no idea what the fucking expenditures of this person are, how many people they employ, the exact amount of fucking goddamn expenses that they have in any given day, man.
For a hypothetical example, let's say I'm talking about. They've got $1 billion sitting in a bank account, and that's just for their own personal use. I'm not saying should they have it, because why the hell not? But is there any ethical argument to say it's completely pointless, and it's kind of almost very distasteful that person's got more than they ever need, and there are people that don't have anything. Is there anything can we try and solve those two problems?
I think one of the easiest ways to solve those problems is to encourage charity, which in many first world countries is already a thing. However, has become less and less of a thing as people do everything they can to regulate it. People that make more money tend to also give away more money. People that have more money tend to spend more money. People that, it's the idea that literally wealth creates wealth. And as much as certain people have the idea that wealth does not create wealth, it's the same thing as saying you have too much food. Those who stockpile food are the reason that there are people that are starving. It's the same thing. It's a false equivalency. I'd say ethically, there is no argument to be made of this guy. He has too much. He can make too much by negative means, by unlawful, immoral means. Totally, completely agree on that when it comes to that ethics question. And I think that is the problem. But the actual stuff itself, him being in possession of so much stuff, it itself isn't immoral. How he got it can be immoral, and I completely agree with that. What he does with it can be immoral or moral or any of this. But you taking it from him by force technically will never be moral, for force itself is never the moral thing to do.
That wasn't my
necessary.
That wasn't my argument, though, Seth. I wasn't saying taking it from. I was saying never give it to him in the first place.
But it never give it to him means that it was never there for anybody else, and it's like it
was there.
Have that as
it was there in the pool of money that's been created by the company, but he doesn't deserve. All I'm saying is he doesn't deserve an unfair share of it, because everyone else has done all the work.
That quote unquote unfair share, though, is what pushes people to truly succeed. When you take away that idea of wealth, that idea of being rich, that idea of having more than someone else, then overall humanity goes to absolute pot. I believe Walter E. Williams is the guy that once said, almost every single great thing in human history has come from an emotion that people like demonize like no other, and that's called greed. Considering almost every single thing that exists in the modern era when it comes to technology, when it comes to charities, when it comes to almost anything you can think of, was set up on some level by greed. Because most of these charities only exist because it allows some guy to get a tax break. Most of this, you know what I mean? Most of the businesses that exist only exist because some guy wanted to get enough to be able to impress someone else or wanted to get more, right? Because the idea of enough, technically, what does they say? You never have enough. You never have enough. They'll be like, man, this guy's got, what is he having to do? It's just like, he doesn't need this money. He doesn't need that. I mean, it's the crabs in the bucket mentality, man. I mean, people, especially in inner city America, be they white, black, whatever, do this shit to each other all the time. Of the guy that's the most successful of any of them, they look at him as a mark, as a target, as somebody that he shouldn't have that. And people's thing of trying to make having more than someone else be a moral or an ethical question are the very people that are attempting to make taking it from that person, which is why I always bring that up, taking it from that person or not giving it to them in the first place, which is, again, completely hypothetical because you could never not give, like ungive something, you know what I mean? Like go back in the past and just, no, take that away. But it's why taking it could never be moral either, is because it's this idea that arbitrarily I decide that you have enough. And it's the reason I keep bringing this up is because that's the equity argument. Equity is that everybody, instead of, oh, we all had the same place to take off from, right? Because that's equality, is we're all treated the same there or whatever. Equity is where we all end up at the same place, which is something that has never existed in human history and is something that I personally believe is completely impossible. Every bit as much as in the theocratic society, the idea that we can force all humans to act morally. It becomes the same idea that it's based in emotion, not logic. And I understand
Don't we do that?
So important.
Don't we do that to an extent anyway by having laws like "thou shalt not kill"? You know, you shouldn't kill. Isn't that not forcing a morality on someone?
Yeah. However, "thou shalt not" becomes, God telling you this or whatever, rather than "you shouldn't." Should not shall not, but should not. Because as we've all agreed upon, violence is wrong. However, violence can very well so be necessary. As we've all agreed upon, anything that could necessarily be immoral at times could be necessary, but it doesn't make it moral. People do all this stuff to try and create this idea that, because nobody ever wants to be the bad guy of their story. Nobody ever wants to be the one that, well, shit, I did something that was fucked up. Nobody ever wants to be that guy. Everybody has to view themselves, or at least does everything they can to perpetually view themselves as the good guy, the victim, whatever. And we see that exactly in victimhood mentality stuff here, especially, or how people will anthropomorphize or personify poverty as something that is noble and good, when in reality, it's just a condition of life. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's good. By the way, thanks for contributing, Brittany. By the way, I think it's good sometimes to have little debates, but even about topics like this, we can do that sometimes because we might have different views. I don't even know what I think about some of this stuff, but I do know, let's move it slightly in a different direction about the monarchy. I do know that seems pretty unfair to me, inheriting huge amounts of wealth. How does that sit with you, Seth?
To me, the inheritance isn't as bad as the idea, the very literal idea of monarchy, of that the Lord God Almighty entrusted my family lineage to rule over all of you dirty, filthy, evil peasants in perpetuity. And that it is because that is why kings are kings, why queens are queens. It's the divine right of kings. It's the idea that, this person literally by very virtue of who they are deserves to rule over you. And I disagree entirely, but also I disagree entirely with the idea of giant systems of control like this. But I do think that monarchy and kingdoms it has advantages and disadvantages, and I'm not naive enough to act like there aren't any advantages to having a monarchy, because there are very solid pros. And the idea, people act like there's no such thing as a good king. No, in reality, a cult of personality that just isn't a piece of shit can make a kingdom, and that's a reflection of them, that is less ugly. Whereas something that appeals like democracy to the masses of people is based upon a reflection of the people. And the people will always, for the most part, be ugly, because the masses, the majority of human beings, are controlled by emotion. They're not controlled by reason. They're not controlled by logic. They're not controlled by this feeling of, hey, maybe I should store up some food so that I have food to eat later. It's all this immediate, like, self-propelled stomach type thinking, where if I eat now, I need now, over and over and over again. It's one of the reasons why that Ron Paul guy has the quote about the most dangerous form of government It's not what people think it is. It's not fascism. It's not any of this. It's democracy, because a demagogue, demagoguery is all that is somebody that manipulates the emotions of large amounts of people in order to create a mob mentality and get a mob to go out and do their bidding for them. That is the democratic system in a nutshell. It's why they invented the systems of propaganda, because before the systems of democracy and having huge divested systems of government, one didn't really need that much propaganda outside of the divine right of king stuff, the Bible stuff, whatever your religion is. You know what I mean? That sort of stuff is what people used in a very tight-knit, closed group to control the minds of the people that they needed to control, because the average person had no say in their life as far as their destiny anyways. Whereas when you have a form of government that's controlled by all these people and everyone is constantly talking, extolling the greatness of democracy, yet you and I are both aware, as is anybody listening to this, that the majority of people are fucking morons, brainlets, losers.
Well, that's harsh, Seth. That's hard, but
well, dude, I say this genuinely as somebody with an IQ of over 130, that most of these motherfuckers out here have an IQ of under 90. Period.
I don't like to say the masses are stupid, but over this COVID thing, it really does drive you to despair, and it does make you view people as stupid.
That's the thing. I felt like this before that, and then getting to see this just fucking reinforces everything I felt the entire time of like, oh my God, no.
I think before COVID, I was trying to be generous with people about things. People have different points of view. I accepted that. But with the COVID thing, that's when it took it to another level. And I kind of reached the point where I found myself, I don't even know if I should be doing it, but I find myself in total despair, thinking, why is everyone so stupid? And they think I'm stupid, which makes it even more despairing. Let's read a few of the comments here. Pfizer, Moderna, BioNTech vaccine, everything was reported as COVID-19. 2 weeks post-vaccine, we have a plethora of deaths due to multiple inadvertent natural causes. I mentioned that to you earlier about on the CDC website. They're actually publishing it on there, but then nobody's reporting on it. The amount of people who are dying within 7 days of the vaccine. Do you think the vaccine may be? Well, of course not. It must be nothing to do with that. There's more of our sarcasm there. I think we're allowed to get away with sarcasm, which is why you might hear a lot of it in the coming episodes. They are free to do as they please, unless suppressing us by deception doing the same. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Over some of the things that the media have covered during COVID, I do think the COVID-19 pandemic has changed the media, or has made things more obvious to those of us who can see. Those of us have been studying, like the Hunter Biden laptop. That was a new threshold for me. Seeing how things literally change by the second. You know, I was reading an article. I was reading about some of the stuff and watching the videos of Hunter Biden at the same time as the BBC, literally seconds later, producing a video of Rudy Giuliani. It was like, these people are totally playing for one side here. Yeah, hi Gormonger 2. We've got a regular listener. If you are able to join us, I'm going to post the link again for anyone who's listening. We'd love to hear from you guys. This is Marxism 101. The middle class is making everyone dependent on the state. I think that's going to happen. And of concern to me as a traveler is this whole vaccine thing. I'm in Thailand at the moment. I'm wondering, am I ever going to be able to get back to the UK? One thing I'm wondering, am I ever going to be able to get back without a vaccine? And number two, do I ever want to go back?
I was just about to ask you that, Scott.
Like, do I ever want to go back to this repressive new place that I used to, which used to have its problems, but at least wasn't a police state.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be an asshole when I say that, man, because there's some beautiful places in the UK and whatnot, but we're still talking about like some of the most Orwellian shit I've ever seen in my entire life outside of communist China is happening right now in the UK.
In the UK and Australia. Yeah. Australia, as we mentioned, they've just shut down a massive part of Australia because of 3 cases.
Wasn't that New Zealand?
Sorry, that was New Zealand, but it's happening in Australia as well. But yeah, I mentioned the New Zealand case first. But they did it in Melbourne the other day in Australia too, over slightly more cases, but not much more. But then they've done it in Thailand. You wouldn't believe the amount of cases there were when they shut down the country. Of course, I totally think it was okay. Nod, nod, wink, wink. But there we go. Let's just see if there's anything else. Oh, I wanted to, just in other news, this isn't really conspiratorial. I just thought I'd mention it because it's just something that's, as a traveler, one of the places I used to live was Fukushima. And there was a powerful earthquake there in the last 24 hours, I believe. And the quake came a decade after the earthquake and tsunami that killed over 18,000 people. There seems to be an increase in earthquakes around the world, and of course this leads to a lot of people saying we're living in end times. I must say it certainly feels like it, so I wouldn't necessarily argue with that. I also wanted to just talk about what you think is going to happen next. I think this is speculation time. I mean, it looks to me like they're going to keep things perpetually locking down because of the variants that are occurring. Those variants are going to be springing up every country around the world.
Convenient,
So it's going to keep locking people down. I wondered what you think is the end game here. I'll say what I think's the end game first of all, or at least what I think is going to be happening over the next couple of years. I do think it's going to be perpetual lockdowns, and I do think maybe they'll make out one of these variants, whether it's true or false. They'll make out that it's far more deadlier, and then I think they're going to put everyone in like a more permanent lockdown where you cannot go out of your house unless you have the permits. They give the permits obviously to the people they approve of. Maybe this could be linked to your social credit score. Have you been a good person?
Like
have you done
the party? The people that are in good standing are members of the party, and it'll be the world party. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and if you're not in good standing, you're not going anywhere. You're not traveling. You're not going to leave your house. Maybe they'll arrange for delivery system for food if you're lucky. You won't be allowed to grow your own food, of course. Monsanto.
That'd be too evil if you could grow your own food.
Yeah, Monsanto will supply that for you. That's where I see it going, and I hate to be bleak, but I really don't see that they're going to back. I don't see that in a couple of years everything's going to be back to normal, and all the laws they brought in, where they can literally walk into your house now and take a member of your family away, and you may never see them again. I don't think all those laws are going to disappear. I don't think the lockdowns are going to disappear, and I don't think the authoritarian rule we see is going to disappear. I think it's going to get worse. On the positive side, I think there will be new groups forming. I've already started to see it happening with alternative types like us, starting to form groups, collectives. And I think that's the way forward on a positive note. And you could say we're in a collective at the moment, the Truth Sentinel Collective. I wanted to say this might be a good before I hand over to you, Seth, for your comments of what you think's happening next. I wanted to take this opportunity to say I've added a forum onto the Truth Sentinel website because I think on a positive side and the historic time we find ourselves in at the moment and the problems that may be coming, we need to stick together. And while we still have access to social media, we can evolve and transform and maybe move to wherever we want to go. I have created a BitChute channel, and I'll post the link to that. I have posted it at the beginning of this chat, and I'll post links to that in the show notes. I'd also welcome everyone to go to Truth Sentinel website, because if we do get taken down, which is highly likely, and I'm serious, we might even get taken down after this show's published a week later. We've only got one more strike and then we're gone. So I would like to point out, go to www.truthsentinel.co.uk, start posting on the forums. Let's create a community. where if things get really bad, at least we've got each other and we can help each other in some ways. This is already happening with other sites. I've noticed they're forming groups. If you watch series like The Walking Dead, it reminds me of all the groups that form in that, and I think we need to do that.
Yeah, man.
In apocalyptic times, you need to form groups. So I'm just welcoming everyone to go to this website. Also, subscribe to this channel, Truth Sentinel 2. If you're listening from somewhere else, just go over to YouTube, subscribe to it. Also, join our Facebook group. The links are all in the on the YouTube channel. While it's still there, the channel might disappear. There's also a second Truth Sentinel channel where we'll switch to if this one goes down. It's just called Truth Sentinel. This is Truth Sentinel 2. Subscribe to both. Bookmark the channel. Start posting on the forum. Join the Facebook group. Let's just make sure we get to know each other before we get taken down. Over to you, Seth. What do you think's going to happen in the next couple of years?
Well, first, before I get into that, I got comments here. Goremonger 2, I think this is on point. It's siege warfare, breaking people's will like prison. That is definitely a lot of stuff I've seen has reminded me of that. Also, not just prison, but there's a guy named Jerry Day, Jerry Day, Day, and you can look him up. He's solid. He's got an entire discussion that he has on slavery and modern day slavery, and the idea of our historic idea of slavery is completely wrong, and then how slave drivers and slave masters back in the day used to psychologically break people by committing very aggressive acts of violence against certain individuals that were considered to be like young men, right? That they would just engage in these absolutely horrific acts of violence against them and make sure that their mothers, and more importantly, all young slave women, were there to see this, so that when they have children themselves, they raise their children to be obedient. Because, if you're not obedient, I don't want to see my kid get his guts cut out or his fucking genitals mutilated or whatever. And it just reminded me of that when it comes to American politics. Just for a moment on that, when it comes to, have you heard of the Kyle Rittenhouse case?
He's the guy who shot someone, right?
Yeah, in Kenosha. He's the 17-year-old kid that put out a dumpster fire that these mostly peaceful protesters were pushing a flaming dumpster at one of the cop cars that was right there. He comes by with a fire extinguisher, puts it out, and then they chase him en masse because they're going to kick the shit out of him.
I saw that. I saw the video of him chasing him, yeah.
Yeah, and it really felt like Rittenhouse was going to be used as the example for the rest of us, and it's why the media was fucking frothing at the mouth about. They tried to make it like a race thing for a while there, of that he's racist, despite the fact that all three of the people that he shot were white. One of them was a fucking child molester, convicted pedophile that got shot, and it was the one with the gun that came and rolled up on him. And two of these three people were armed and were attacking him. I mean, the third one was like not armed, but was still attacking him. But regardless, like there's a reason the case was thrown out. But it definitely reminded me of that. And then the last little bit, when it comes to my perspective here of American politics type stuff, there's something that I think you might have seen me post on Facebook the other day. And I don't usually like to just go with Facebook posts or something, but I'm pretty sure you remember this. It's a particular cheeky little post that plays on the idea that, Facebook and all the Twitter and everyone was worried about preventing false narratives. Well, here's a doozy for you. And just keep in mind for our YouTube overlords and whatnot, that this is a joke. However, Facebook doesn't seem to have even standards on this. And I quote, this meme says, Joe Biden has the Medal of Honor. He's got 4 Nobel Peace Prizes. He also cured AIDS, cancer, and autism. If you don't see a fact checked under this, maybe you'll open your eyes and understand why.
Yeah,
Still
I did see that one.
Anything on it. Still,
I know. That's the funny thing about this whole thing. I mean, that does highlight it in a way. Yeah. You can ask questions about the last election, which we would never do, and say something negative about it, and that will be immediate fact check underneath it. But you can write ridiculous stuff like that meme, and that's no problem at all. It's the last year has been ridiculous for the amount of censorship.
do you remember
it really has.
the meme that everybody was sharing around for a while there was the fake Time magazine cover that has Xi Jinping in there, like right next to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And they fact checked that, man. They fact checked all that. Just, hey, man, that's not really the case. Like, it's a joke. It was a fucking joke. It was obviously a fucking joke.
I've noticed they fact check jokes. It's getting kind of tiresome. I mean, some people.
Our Lord and Savior Joe Biden, or Joe Biden, as they'd say there, the Chinese despot.
By the way, let's talk about Biden. How is he going down with people on the other side, people you don't normally kind of hang out with, like mainstream people?
Yeah, mainstream people, even lefties. Everyone fucking hates his guts, dude. Everyone hates his guts. Most of these mainstream lefties wanted Kamala, or more importantly than fucking Kamala Harris, they wanted goddamn Bernie Sanders or fucking Elizabeth Warren or Tulsi Gabbard or some shit, just anything else in the world. But because the orange man was so bad, we just had to rally around him. It's same shit, different day, man. Same shit, different day.
I have to say, from an observer's point of view, admittedly from a long way away, but at least you could say Trump, you felt like somebody was there. With Biden, there's nothing. There's literally, you almost don't even, you wonder whether he's actually doing anything apart from signing his presidential orders. But is he doing anything? You never see him making speeches. Maybe there's a reason for that. Couldn't comment.
It's probably because he's a robot, right, Scott? Not because he's fucking has dementia and is losing his mind and shit. No. Robot.
Yeah.
Robot.
Yeah. He does seem very, pretty much the same during his campaign, where he just wasn't anywhere to be seen. On the world stage, he doesn't seem to be anywhere to be seen.
Almost like he's a bad joke, even in his own party. It's like most people. I use that Barack Obama quote with you repeatedly because anybody that's on the other side of the fence, because for some reason, me not being Democrat means to all these weirdos that I'm a Trump supporter and all this stuff, despite the fact that I have raked Trump over the fucking coals way more than most people that are Trump supporters would ever be comfortable with, right? To the point that they'd attack the shit out of me of being some left-wing, commie weirdo, right? But everybody tries to paint me as that bad guy, whatnot. Even most of these people on the left-wing side of the fence have nothing for Joe Biden at all. And yet somehow, most successful presidential candidate of all time. But that quote that I was going to say that I use on most of these people, and even haven't seen a single one of them be able to argue against it. So Barack Obama quote, I believe it's from Playboy magazine, but I could be tripping, where he said that never underestimate Joe Biden's ability to fuck stuff up.
Yeah. Do you think that's a genuine quote then?
I think it's one of the most genuine things Barack America, as Biden called him, has ever said in his entire life. Dude, I've seen so many of those press conferences and whatnot where he and Biden are together, and then Biden says some of the dumbest shit you ever seen or ever heard, and Barack Obama's looking at him like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Come on, man. Yet people, what is it he said about Obama? He's unique. He's like one of a kind there. He's an intelligent, well-spoken, well-dressed black man. He's really unique there in that sense. And I'm like, what? No. And yet that's their boy. That's their anti-racist president that was going to stop that evil racist Donald Trump. It's fucking insanity. But we're getting up to the world stage of where I think the country's going is guns are going to be their next big target that they're going after. They're going to have a flag event, the opposite of a true flag event. Yeah, it seems like it's going to be one of those. I believe what is it, like a false something event? You know what I mean? It's probably going to be a small one at first, involving a small number of victims. And then the next one that they're going to have is going to be a far larger number of victims. It's probably going to involve one of those pew, pew, icky, evil, two-handed, assault rifles, as they like to call them. And it is going to be used for the exact same bullshit that we've dealt with since Christ, like the Obama years, right? This has been something that happens every couple years, and they just keep pushing it, because once they have everybody disarmed, they can do whatever they want to. I have a feeling.
Let's just have a look at. Sorry, can I just interrupt with some comments from the chat room? Brittany's just mentioned if they test you, it will be 90%. positive 90% of the time. I think that's become clear. The PCR tests are fake, and we were mentioned, I think last week, that the maker of the PCR test
Carrie Mullen,
mysteriously died
in August
just before the
2019.
pandemic.
Yeah.
I think that's highly suspicious. Of course, there'll be no investigation into that. It's just ridiculous. Goremonger 2, I'm ready for warm weather. The old false flags will be back with a vengeance. Hey guys, there's a message from Kieran. Hey guys, humanity is doomed. Positive news though, it's the 10th anniversary of Friday by Rebecca Black, and she released a remix of it in celebration. Kieran, don't knock her. Don't knock her. She was the one that came up with lyrics such as "It's Friday, Friday," and that's the day after Thursday.
I think Saturday's the next day. Next day is Sunday. Day before that's Thursday. Friday, Friday, Friday.
Those were those were classic lyrics. I thought, Seth, now might be a good time to try and share a video. It's partly just to check whether we can do it. I wanted to share a video just to play it, see if people can hear it, just as a quick experiment almost. Although it could be good if people do hear this. So maybe I'll try to leave you in the chat room on the video, Seth, and I'll jump out of the room and play it, and then we'll see what happens. You could mute yourself while it's playing. I just want to give it a go. Okay, so let's try that. I'm going to jump out.
And we're back. You're muted, Scott.
Okay, that's better. Sorry, that was just an experiment, guys. So sorry if that was a bit of a mess. It was meant to be almost. Okay, so Kieran says he didn't get any audio. Brittany says she did hear it. The first part, I realized I'd forgotten to click the bit that plays the audio, so then I clicked it. So I would have hoped that Kieran heard some of it, but Kieran, let me know if you heard any of it. And please let me know if anyone heard any of.
I couldn't hear any of it.
Oh, that's weird. And yet some people say they heard it, so that's a bit strange. Okay. Well, maybe we'll do that another time, and I'll try and sort it out. I'm surprised Brittany heard that. Kieran didn't.
Have we talked about at all the Greta stuff when it comes to India right now and all that's popping off right there?
I heard something about that she was siding with somebody. Was it the miners or something, or I can't remember? And
Farmers.
farmers, and then she
Mhm.
upset the Indian government, right?
Yeah, because her and I believe it was Rihanna stupidly put out a release that they were supposed to read off of, man, not share out with their audiences. And the second the Indian government saw this and realized that this isn't just some little stupid moron saying shit, right? Because of course Greta Thunberg isn't just some idiot. She's literally
Oh
an
no,
agent for them, right?
she's a lovely, lovely
Yeah.
girl,
Yeah.
very polite, and I do like her a lot.
Yes. How dare you? There's nothing I like more than some entitled asshole telling me how to live my fucking life. And how
I
dare
got
I?
on a unsarcastic note, I got so much flack for criticizing that girl. Like, oh, you really hate little children? Then no, I just didn't like the way she spoke.
No, I
Oh, I
do.
see.
I do.
So
I'll just say it.
yeah,
I'll die on that one for you, Scott. I'll jump on that hand grenade for you.
I got so much flack over that, and it kind of sums up these days. You cannot have an opinion without everyone jumping to the wrong conclusion. If you
Emotions.
say, yeah, emotions again, yeah. If you have a slight problem with a policy or something, no, you absolutely hate everything associated with that, according to other people. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have a problem with the global warming cult. You have a problem with the climate change cult. You have a problem with the CO2 is bad cult and all this stuff. Well, then you must just hate the environment. You're right, Scott. I just go outside and just punch trees. I just start ninja kicking the bushes and stuff like that. I just can't handle nature.
And because you hate the environment, you want everybody to die on the planet. You want to kill them. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so then you should just double mask. In fact, triple mask to all those people there. It's for the planet, guys. I mean, come on. Even if you couldn't breathe, who would care? I mean, it's for the planet, right?
Yeah,
Come on.
it's
It's so
interesting how the climate change agenda is merging with the COVID-19 one as well, isn't it?
almost like it's a Marxism, almost like it was always
Mm.
about a particular ideology that puts guilt on others. And granted, religion is just as guilty of this as anything. It's why people call it the climate change religion and whatnot, because it's that guilt. It's the same thing with the white guilt people and whatnot. You'll notice that the racial agenda always like intertwines with that as well, right? Because it's this idea that you have guilt for something you have no fucking control over whatsoever, right? And so thus you must give me your money, your life, your soul, everything, because, well, you're guilty, man. You're guilty. And don't worry, Bill Gates he won't die for your sins. He'll ascend to, techno godhood as a fucking robo man, as he's the world's richest person and whatnot. Some bullshit like that, right? He'll not die for your sins. Because why would he die? Why would any of these people die? Why would that be a good thing?
Kieran says you can have an opinion as long as it's the right opinion. Hey, isn't that the truth? I don't know if you know, Kieran, but our last episode was taken down for having the wrong opinion about the last US election, which we erroneously said that was not totally above board, but of course it was.
Yeah, waterboard.
So we're gonna be a lot more sarcastic on the show in coming episodes to try and bypass getting the video taken down. What do you guys think about leaky vax? There is word out there that vaccinated people will incubate a stronger strain. So people who get vaccinated will have a more deadly... Anything's possible, but even that opinion you're not allowed to have. You're not allowed to give an opinion that anything's possible, because if you talk about vaccinations, you literally have to say positive things. And I think even though there are obviously people who are dying within 7 days of having the vaccine, which is a fact, YouTube, that is 100% fact. People are dying within 7 days. I can back this up by, you can go to the CDC website. They're publishing there somewhere. They're keeping it a bit quiet, but it is on there somewhere. So please don't take us down for that. But I reckon they would. You can't actually say facts now. If it's an unpopular fact, you're not allowed to say it. I think millions of people could die, and the BBC wouldn't report it if it was linked to the vaccines. They're not allowed to. You're not allowed to link deaths or negative aspects with vaccines. Kieran says say allegedly about everything. I think we could try that. I prefer being sarcastic. At least it's fun. Saying allegedly all the time isn't so much fun.
Well, and if we've gotten to see the media to the
Allegedly.
point they're yeah, allegedly. We've gotten to allegedly see what the media does when something goes against their narrative. I mean, Scott, the most iconic thing of probably American media ever produced. A city on fire, man standing in front of this mostly peaceful protest.
Oh right, yeah, there was that one. I am kind of really hopeful that some of the things they've been censoring will come to pass and be proven, like the said topic we were discussing last week, which YouTube deleted the video. What do you think will happen if it's 100% proven after maybe within 6 months? I think there will be a hell of a lot to answer for all this censorship, won't there? I'm really hoping that's going to happen. Am I hoping for too much, Seth?
I think so, but I don't think they'll ever admit that they're wrong. That's one thing that the collectivists never do. They never admit that they're wrong, ever. It's always that just the science changed, and so I changed my opinions, and it just everything pushes forward because it's a cult. And like any cult, they can't admit that they were wrong. The cult mentality is always based upon this idea of the attainment of power. That is always the cult leader, the cult leadership, whether or not it's more than one person, always are attempting to usurp the power of the people beneath them and use them to create a power base. Why do you gaslight people? I mean, people literally, I've had people ask, not just when we're talking about whatever topic you can come up with, right? Because I'm Mr. Conspiracy guy. So any given conspiracy at all, there's always this one fucking question that everyone always asks. But why would they lie? And it's always the same answer. Why does anyone lie about anything? Power. Because when they know the truth and you think you know the truth, but you know a lie, then they got you in their pocket. Because knowing the truth, these guys can then utilize the fact that you believe a lie to shill shit to you, even if they're just trying to sell you products, or if they're trying to get you to swear yourself to them and be subservient to them.
Another thing people have always said in the past is, what's the motive? To me, okay, I can probably think of a motive for whatever topic they're discussing. But I actually don't think the motive, whether you know the motive, doesn't really matter. You don't need to fully understand the motive for something to be true or not. If someone kills someone, you don't need to know, you don't have to know why they did it for that other person not to be dead. It doesn't change the result. So I think that's a kind of red herring again. But by the way, I also wanted to mention, I was listening to a David Icke the other day, last night actually, and it was a 2002, I think it was, a speech, one of his long Wembley Stadium speeches, and I have to give him credit. If you played it now, you'd think he was discussing the pandemic. What he was talking about, he was basically saying, they're not gonna stop authoritarian rule. They want to control your entire lives. This is in 2002. After listening to it, whatever criticism you want to give about David Icke, he was pretty spot on, and I would encourage people to go back and listen to some of those Wembley speeches he gave, and you've got to at least give him credit. He wasn't wrong. Not that I ever thought he was wrong, to be honest, about those aspects. I might disagree with him about him and lots of people like Alex Jones and about some things, but they're still right about some things. And for me, they've always been righter than the BBC and places like that.
Which is not hard to do. Which is not that
hard. It's not hard to do. Yeah, it's really not hard to do. I mean, I find this, but what it does do is create a big divide of people who listen to the BBC, CNN, and people who I still listen to or read the BBC, but only almost as a comedy thing, and also to be on. I need to be in touch with what the mainstream people think and kind of read between the lines. So I still need to keep in contact, but I find some of it so ridiculous, and yet some people really believe in it. And you're seeing this huge divide, which has got wider over the last couple of years, which makes it really frustrating to talk to normies, if we want to call them normal people.
God, normies it really does seem weird to even call them normal, doesn't it? Because they haven't been normal in a long goddamn time.
They think we're stupid. They think we're really stupid for believing these things.
Well,
we kind
Scott,
of think
I mean,
they're stupid.
We had our idea last week, or our video last week that got taken down for something that Time Magazine published an entire goddamn article about, endorsing it, saying that it was a good thing. It was great that they, well,
Yeah.
I can't say it. You can't say it lest our video get taken down, but everybody should look at that Time Magazine article relating to the U.S. election and the last U.S. election. And I believe the term that they used was shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. Shadow campaign. Yeah. What nice people, though. It's almost like there's rules for them and then there's rules for us. Almost like the exact same standard doesn't apply, because why would they ever have the same standard for all of us? There's always double standards because, you know, they're full of shit. Imagine that. I just imagine that. Did you, speaking of something like this, of them being less than honest, did you hear about that poor Capitol police officer that was, I believe Joe Rogan on his podcast said that this guy was murdered with a fire extinguisher, I believe was the term he used. Or no, it wasn't fire extinguisher. He said fire hydrant, I believe was the exact quote he used, because he's a fucking brainlet. That cop had a heart attack at the hospital.
A couple of them committed suicide apparently as well, which sounds a bit weird.
But that particular death, though, was attributed to the rioters by all the media and all this stuff about how they fucking murdered this guy. At first, it was with a fire extinguisher. Then, you know, morons, Joe Rogan, fire hydrant, right? Which I'm just saying, dude, yeah, okay, they're picking up fire hydrants and hurling them at people, man. Good luck with that one. Yet he had a heart attack at the hospital hours later. And then we get to the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stuff, which, God forbid, I don't even fucking know if we can talk about at all without getting taken down, because she's
a lovely lady.
Oh, yeah, isn't she, right? She's the golden child poster girl for the fucking disgustingness of the U.S. media industrial complex. Because
I only need to hear her speak, and I know we've got a problem straight away. There's like, something about her.
What are you talking about, Scott? Oh, my God.
Allegedly.
You don't think a Valley girl should be in charge of government, and where everything ends with a fucking upward inflection? Like she's
I see a massive in her, and I don't even know her very well. I haven't studied. She just crops up in the news every now and again, but I see a massive attention seeker, someone who loves people to be hanging on her every word. Yep. You know, she loves her Twitter followers, and that thing where she was going, I was pressed up against the wall. Hey, what?
Twitter followers, we call them twits, you know.
No, not unless they're Truth Sentinel. Not unless they're Truth Sentinel.
I forgot you have one.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you.
Sorry. I take it back. Except the people that follow our stuff. But
they're good Twitter followers.
I've always, from the beginning of Twitter, always thought that was the weirdest thing in the world, considering a twit is like a British slang term for somebody that's a moron. It's been for the longest time.
That's right. Yeah, I only use.
It's not even Tweeter. The birds tweet. Birds tweet. They don't twit. They tweet. So why the fuck is it Twitter and not Tweeter? It's just. But again, you know, I'm thinking with my giant big boy brain about this, man. I'm not some genius like Jack Dorsey, looking like fucking Rasputin or some shit. You know,
he's a dodgy looking character, isn't he? As well. Goodness.
Looks like
Twitter has become. Twitter did serve a purpose. I found it especially useful around the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, but now everyone's been kicked off, so that's useless as well now.
Yep.
Let me stress again. Sorry, I was just going to say again.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, basically, repeat again what I said earlier, that we need to stick together. Gormonger 2 just said more like Twitter as well. The only thing I would say is, whilst we need to join together. And whilst we still have some of these social media platforms, let's join them all so we can talk about how we're going to get off them all, if that makes sense.
No, I'm with
So
it. I'm with it.
so join the Truth Sentinel Twitter page, the Facebook page. All the links are there. This YouTube site. It won't be up for very long, but join it at the moment so we can talk about how the hell we're going to get off it. Make sure you bookmark www.truthsentinel.co.uk. Please go and post something in the forum. Anyone who's listening today, who listens to the recording, let's get the forum started so we can. So if we do get taken down, we're all there on the forum, or we're all joined somewhere. Let's go to the internet site. I'm sorry it's not as slick as some sites, but we don't exactly have a budget here.
Exactly.
There is a forum there. I don't think I can I checked whether I could live stream direct to the Truth Sentinel website. I think you can if you pay the premium. It's free at the moment. I can't afford to do anything, but who knows? Maybe in the future we'll see what we can do there. But we're looking for alternatives because I prefer the live streams personally.
DLive. I know we can. DLive does live streaming and whatnot, as well as several other sites that are up. I think Entropy Stream is one of them. There are a couple, but they're not ideal, man. It's not perfect, because I know what your thing is of wanting to have something you can stream and then go out to different sites from there, right? So it's like a centralized stream itself that then goes out and filters to all the different websites. And that at the moment is, I think, way more than just what you and I are looking for, but what almost every fucking content creator that was on YouTube or still is on YouTube or any of that is trying to find. And so it's kind of a pain in the ass. But what else?
We can live stream directly to the Truth Sentinel Facebook page. Of course, Facebook's that's probably not a long-term solution, but these are all, if one goes down, at least we can jump to the other. And then when that goes down, basically, I think the central point is the website at the moment. Make sure you join the forum. Make sure you bookmark the Truth Sentinel website, www.truthsentinel.co.uk. At least then, if everything goes down, I can leave messages on the forum just to say where we are. The same with Twitter. Whilst it still exists, while we're still on there, at least try and find us on there by clicking on the link if you're on Twitter, so that if we do go down, I can send a message to everyone. Also, join both Truth Sentinel sites on YouTube. This one, Truth Sentinel 2, and Truth Sentinel without the 2. You can find them all. You should be able to find them all just by searching, basically. Plus there are links on the website. Brittany says, Seth and Scott, do you think that the open control they're putting on us now has anything to do with the flat earth movement gaining huge amounts of traction?
Scott, you want to start with this or me?
I'll start with that. I would say no, but I don't know for sure. Because I think it depends what you mean by the open control. If you mean the pandemic, I don't think it was the flat earth movement. I think this was coming anyway, for all kinds of reasons. Let me explain my stance about the flat earth. I'm a flat earth sympathizer in that I'm open-minded to the whole thing. Kieran's just said, first rule of flat earth, don't talk about flat earth. That was from Mark Sargent, though. Kieran, who not everyone likes, by the way, but I think he seemed like a nice guy when I chatted to him anyway. So my stance is that I'm open-minded to the whole flat earth thing, and I actually want the earth to be flat. So I actually do. I think it would be fantastic, and if people found out about it, I think it would be brilliant, because it would shake up people's idea of reality. So I'm really with that. Is the earth flat? I don't know, and I'm certainly we've done shows on whether we landed on the moon. I'm kind of I try not to be a middle of the stay on the fence kind of guy, but I try to keep an open mind. But sometimes I can't quite jump on one side because I don't know. I've noticed that some of the flat earthers have switched more saying globe deniers, and I can kind of buy that more than saying I'm definitely a flat earther. But I can certainly say I don't know for sure that I live on a globe. I can certainly say that. But if you mean by the open control that they're putting us under now, I don't think it was to do with the flat Earth movement. I don't think so. But hey, how do I know? I think the pandemic and the control they're putting on us now was always coming. It was always coming. What sparked it off? Could it be the Trump thing and the elections? Some people say that was it. It was timed pretty well for that, so you can see where that why that's some people believe that. I think it was always coming. I'm not 100% sure why it had to be this year, so I'm going to hand over to Seth to see what he thinks about that.
I'm pretty much in the same boat, Scott. I think that for the most part, it's not necessarily just the flat Earth movement stuff. I think it's everything when it comes to questioning authority, all of this stuff. The fact that regardless of any one particular conspiracy or one particular movement of people, I think that overall it's the fact of humanity's consciousness rising to be able to question mainstream narratives. And you're noticing it en masse, like at a level that we've never seen before. And I think that is part of it. But I also think you hit the nail right on the fucking head, Scott, with the fact that they've had this plan for a long time. Agenda 21 was called Agenda 21 for a reason, and everything that was in there is what's already happened, man. They're literally making it happen. Same thing Agenda 2030 will be. It's because I believe it's ODD, speaking of flat Earth and flat earthers, once said, these people have plans that go decades, that go hundreds of years, centuries into the future, and you don't even know what you're going to have for breakfast tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind. We're talking about some of the most highly organized people in the world that don't play games when it comes to this stuff. There's a reason they were willing to force everything to the point that their entire system of control almost crumbled to fucking dust over this COVID stuff, just so that they can get to their Agenda 21 where they wanted us to be for 2021. That they will cut any corner, they will push anything, they will crush any number of people, even within their own ranks, in order to reach these goals that they have set for themselves.
Yeah, indeed. I would say one thing about the having looked into the flat Earth situation extensively and interviewing a couple of flat earthers on here as well. I would say one thing it does highlight is the way people mock people who question everything, including the shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
And these people who are mocking have less knowledge about the topic than the people they're mocking. And that really applies to the flat Earth. Like, flat earthers, I'll hand it to them. They know more about what they're talking about than the people who are mocking them.
Yes, the same
the
as
people who are mocking them. Yeah, they don't even. The people who are mocking don't even understand anything, and yet they're mocking the people who've looked into all models and all concepts.
Well, if you notice that's the thing with flat Earth and whatnot, when people want to try and crap on it to you, it's that they start asking questions and just hurling questions out at you over and over. I'm like, well, dude, you should already have all of these answers if you're fucking Mr. Heliocentrism and you truly believe this. It's the same thing when it comes to being an anti-vaxxer and whatnot. The second you actually question any of this, people go, oh, throw all these questions and all these loaded questions at you when they have no idea what the answers are themselves. They know, for the most part, absolutely nothing about the health industry. And most people that are on the anti-vaxxer tip know way more about it. It's the same thing with the people that are against GMOs. Same thing with the people that are against chemtrails. Same thing with any of these so-called conspiracy theorists in any field whatsoever. For the most part, are people that know way more than these motherfuckers that want to try and act like you're just an idiot for questioning things. And so
one person who definitely isn't an idiot, because we've spoken to him before, is Andre. Andre, I'll bring you on in a sec. If you could switch the video off to help with the bandwidth, that would help. And then I'll bring you on in a sec. And we spoke to Andre before, and we really enjoyed talking to him. So let's see what Andre has to say this week. Andre, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you? How's it going there?
We're pretty good. Pretty good.
I'm in about a half foot of snow right now, so a little bit different weather than what Scott's got going on.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying. I've been enjoying 2 weeks of perfect sunshine.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's been pretty hot here in South Africa, in Cape Town. Some days 35 and higher. It's obviously our summertime here, so it tends to get very hot, especially in Cape Town. Our fire season, sort of February time, so things are hotting up.
Indeed. What did you want to talk about there, Andre?
Yeah, I just wanted to raise one or two things just to bring you guys up to speed with a couple of things here in South Africa, if it's all right with you.
perfectly fine with me, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to give you an idea of the total incompetency we have here with this government, the ANC government is a bona fide communist government. It tries to put on a charade for the world that it's a democracy, etc., etc. It's nothing like it. It's an absolute communist government. They're part of what they call a tripartite alliance, which is the ANC, the Communist Party, and COSATU. And COSATU is the biggest trade union in South Africa. So they masquerade as a democracy and a democratic government, but it's from top to bottom, it's filled with communists. So now this week we got our first plane load of COVID vaccines. I think they ordered 10 million of them, something like 110. It was 80 rand a dose. So it turns out they make a big song and dance about the first plane that arrives with COVID, etc. And guess what? The expiry date is 2 weeks from the date they received it. So can you even think that joke of a vaccine is going to even be valid by the time it gets to the people who are going to supposedly be injected with it?
No, indeed. And it seems like, well, those people better make sure to take it really fast, Andre. Otherwise, it could go bad. It's almost like that's the entire thing. They create an artificial scarcity of it itself in order to tell you, hey, man, limited supplies, it's like inventory is first come first serve basis type stuff, and that'll actually get people to take it, which blows my mind. But some people do it. Man.
It wouldn't even surprise me if the science will say, "Oh, it's okay if it expires." Like they just make up the science as they go along now.
Yes, and from what I understand is, look, I totally don't support. I will never ever take this vaccine for under perjury of death. I will not take it. But the understanding I have saw some statistics here. The first jab only gives you 20% supposed immunity. Look, we know indirectly it kills you with all the nanoparticles, etc. But I mean, when you're dealing with basically an uneducated electorate, they'll believe anything they want to believe to take it. So, I mean, it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens, but I definitely won't be taking it.
Let's talk about that in a minute, but I wanted to let you know, Andre, you were on our show 2 weeks ago, right?
I was, correct, yes.
Did you know they removed that show because they didn't like some of the stuff we were saying?
No, not at all. Oh, what a joke. So that YouTube, somebody obviously put a complaint in.
Exactly.
I don't know, or it's possible someone put a complaint in.
Exactly.
I was even wondering that. Yeah, so.
Or as he said, is it going to send the boys around?
Yeah, so it might have even been someone like Charlie Ward complained. Yeah.
There was actually quite an interesting video this week where the one guy did a very, very good video about 30 things about Charlie Ward. I don't know if you guys watched it. It's really, really good. It is on YouTube as well. What's the guy's name? I must just remember, but something Ease or something. But it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And they mention all sorts of things which I haven't even known about before. I don't know if you guys are aware of this one. One of those 30 things really, really shocked me. He claims, and this is Charlie Ward, they showed video footage of it, that during the 80s, he says he actually procured underage girls for Jimmy Savile to take to the top of the pops. Can you believe it?
Who said that? Say that again.
Charlie Ward. He said in the 1980s, he himself, as in Charlie Ward, procured underage girls to take to top of the pop shows to see Jimmy Savile. And he actually goes as far as saying that he told these girls, you're going to get shagged by the host. And they said, yes, no, they're keen. So I couldn't believe it. So absolutely, literally agreed, admitted to being involved in pedophilia.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
That's a joke. I'm only saying that because because Kieran said we should say allegedly today to try and stop being taken down. So, but I don't really care, honestly.
Yeah,
but
that's his words.
Yeah, that's dodgy as hell. Yeah, and I've noticed there's more and more people coming out now and making videos, kind of slagging Charlie Ward off a bit, and he has given out so much disinformation. He kind of deserves it a bit. I wanted to come back to something you said earlier about the vaccines and not taking the vaccines. I feel kind of the same way as you. I won't take it under any circumstances, but I am aware that this is going to become extremely problematic. I mean, I'm in Thailand at the moment. I'm from the UK. At some point, if I want to go back to the UK, I think they're going to say you can't get on the plane unless you have a vaccine. And then they're going to say you can't stay in Thailand because your visa's expired. What am I going to do in that situation? And I wonder what you would do, Andre.
Well, they have actually said, whether or not it holds water, they said they're in no way going to force anyone to take the vaccine. And also there was talk about the schools forcing the pupils to take the vaccine, but apparently, and employers as well forcing the employees to take the vaccine. But they apparently said that there's no way that anyone can be forced. Funny enough, I just read now.
I think they might change their minds on that. I really do.
We all know they're looking for this vaccine passport to control us. I actually read now on the Daily Mail now in the last hour that apparently this one clown there in the government said they're going to start with asking for a vaccine passport for people to go to clubs and pubs if they want to enter it.
Yeah, I think this is the way it's going to go, and that's what I'm kind of. I think we can say we're going to avoid it, and we are going to avoid it. Like, we are going to say no, but they're going to put us in some really difficult situations. I fear.
I have a feeling that's the big one, guys. Is that
I agree. The big thing,
I was just going to say, I think that you're on the money with that one, where they're going to, if they tried to force us all immediately, you will take this, they're going to have people in the streets and violence is going to be committed, period, point blank. However, if they have the frog in the pot sort of approach, where they just get to make it harder and harder and harder, it's exactly what they did with the masks, where they made it more and more and more and more difficult to do almost goddamn near anything without wearing a mask in order to try and force people into it without actually forcing them into it. And I have a feeling they're going to do the same thing with the vaccine, where it's just going to be so convenient for you to take the vaccine that why wouldn't you? They'll look at you like you're a fucking lunatic if you try and not. But I mean, I'm on the same page as you with that one. I ain't fucking taking this. There ain't no fucking way.
I can see maybe in the not too distant future, they're going to ramp up they're going to make one of the variants more deadly, like I mentioned earlier. So if you don't take the vaccine, they're going to say you're mentally ill because everybody's dying. It's got like a 50% kill rate now, and there's no way you're stepping on a plane. You're not going to work. You're not entering a hospital. You're not leaving your house, basically. And I'm just thinking, yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm not going to take it, but think of the implications and the problems that may cause us. And I think we need to prepare for that.
For sure. I think they're just going to shame everybody into trying to take the vaccine. But, my feeling is quite simple. Once you've had it placed in your body, there's no way of removing it.
Yep.
So I will not have it. No way will I have it, because we all know what this is about. We know this was just a trial run, and they somewhere down the line are definitely going to let a bona fide bioweapon loose. We know this was sort of a bioweapon as well, but I think it was just a testing phase, a beta phase, to see what the reaction will be and the control mechanism that they could institute against the world's population. And I think somewhere along the line, they're going to let out the real McCoy, like a smallpox or something that's really with a huge percentage death toll. I think they're looking for 10+%.
Me too. I think that's going to happen, but I think they'll just stick with COVID-19 variant. They don't need to create a new one now. They can just morph this into whatever they want now.
COVID-22,
and I'm with Andre. I do think this was a bioweapon. Whether you believe in that viruses can be caught, we should have that chat sometime. Maybe I should interview a doctor about this. The idea that viruses can't be caught, but I think it almost doesn't matter. You can catch diseases or you can obtain a disease. It's almost like pedantics to me. I do think there was a bioweapon, but I can also see that you almost don't need it because you can manipulate the figures to create an imaginary virus anyway.
No, totally. You know, yeah, in South Africa, we had one of the new mutations of this thing, and they had we got a ban in America and now in the UK to fly in there. So there is a variant here. And look, I mean, I do believe it's a manufactured thing and something's gone on. But at the same time, I must be honest with you. In the last few months, it's hit home more and more for people that you know that are dying of it. As an example, my wife and them have been working from home since March, and a lady, she works with a colleague. Her parents moved about 400 k's from in Cape Town and came down here, and they picked up COVID. Both her mom and dad died within 2 days of each other, and this colleague of my wife's sister, she died last week, all of COVID. So there is definitely something going on, and I think that the strain that we've got in South Africa that mutated, that's been proven, is a lot more deadly. So a couple of work colleagues from the past have also died. So it's hitting more and more home, even though I do believe as a whole this thing is a hoax. But I think they've turbocharged this mutation somehow, because really more people are honestly dying from this currently. Yeah.
Well, and you're aware that not just my government here in the United States, but a lot of governments around the world have a particular hard-on for the people of South Africa, at least people of a certain skin complexion in South Africa, and making sure that they suffer. You know what I mean?
Yes, something's going on, because we're talking here about people, some of my ex-colleagues, late 40s, early 50s, no real comorbidities, nothing. So something is going on, and I know apparently the strain of the mutation we have here is exceptionally deadly, and that's why we're on the no-fly zones to those countries now. So they might have even, I think, like they did with AIDS back in the day, they might have even intentionally trialed something here in South Africa and Africa to see, how much they can get that mortality rate up to. It's not impossible.
I feel like part of the no-fly list stuff also is the fact that people like yourself, Andre, of those that are aware of what the ANC is, and
yes,
you have to control history in order to control the future. You have to control the present in order to control the future. It's the 1984 thing, right? And so they want people like yourself that understand the history of South Africa and understand the history of these quote-unquote heroes like Nelson Mandela, in order to actually put this out to people. Because exactly. And that the average American, the average British person, most people anywhere have no goddamn idea about what actually happened in South Africa and what is going on right now. And they won't talk about it on the news. They'll literally watch people, let people die en masse in the fucking streets from like horrific crimes and shit committed against them. Hate crimes, right? Crimes directed at a particular demographic because of the color of their skin. They'll let all this shit happen. And it doesn't matter, because the ANC, I mean, those are black guys. Those couldn't be bad guys. I mean, and they're the left-wing people, and they're socialists. Socialists are good guys, right, guys? The people, their ignorance is what guarantees that they will be enslaved in the future by the very same people that have tried to destroy. Well, I mean, for Christ's sakes, they destroyed most of Europe at one point, and now all these fucking European people are going right back to it. Right back to the teeth, like somehow Marxism will be different this time. That wasn't true Marxism. That wasn't true communism. This time it'll be different. And they have fucking losers like this Klaus Schwab guy, Klaus Anal Schwab, as I call him there, telling everybody you'll have nothing and you'll be happy. Well, sounds an awful lot like the guy at the top of the capstone when it's coming to fucking communism, because that's just exactly like it happened in the Soviet Union and exactly like it's happening everywhere else. That's a socialist shithole. The people at the top rule everything. Everyone else has nothing. And they don't look very fucking happy.
That's right. I mean, the only thing a communist has ever come up with is slogans, propaganda, and parades. I mean, nothing else.
They get real and ways to rob people. They get real creative with that.
Totally. I mean, guys, the thing is really and truly, people haven't got a clue what's going on in South Africa. I think we're number 1, 2, or 3 highest murder rate in the world. Nearly 60 people a day here get murdered. I've never understood. They always make a big thing in America about the blacks that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, are 13% of the population. I'm open to correction. My last
12%.
information
I
was
believe
that
they're almost
12, 13.
15%. Yeah, it's like 12 point
Yet,
some crap.
Yet they're always talking about the minorities' rights and everything is about the blacks. Yet in South Africa, it's never about the white man's rights as the minority. We are only 5% of the population in South Africa, and we are persecuted like you cannot believe. The kind of crimes that go on here with people who are attacked on farms on a daily basis. Guys, it's something that you could never comprehend. We're talking about drilling people through their knees. We're talking about boiling hot water, pouring it down children's throats. We're talking about having the father watch their children get raped in front of them. We're talking about drowning old people in boiling baths of water. We're talking about cutting people's fingers off with knives. It's beyond anything anyone can comprehend. Yet, of course, according to the world, the ANC's Wonderful, etc. Nelson Mandela was a total terrorist. He was still giving instructions for bomb blasts while he was in Victor Verster prison. It's admitted in his memoirs. The guy was a communist, the head of the Communist Party, up until the time that he died. So the persecution of the white man in South Africa has no bounds. It's out of control. I cannot even explain to you what's going on here. It's horrific.
Well, and it feels like a great example of where Europe and where the United States are going. Because if you notice, well, of course you do. They use the racial divide or ethnic divide, whatever you want to say there, in order to get people to identify those, be it white people, brown people, black people, whatever they have as their particular minority that they're demonizing, right, as other. And once you are other, they can create any number of false crimes that you are guilty for. It's because, you know what I mean? It's a religion. It's the idea that you, based on your color, your skin, or whatever, your heritage, that you are responsible for X crime, sin, whatever idea they want to paint you with, right? That you're responsible for. And so thus it's to justify their actions against you, exactly what you're bringing up, because these very people that claim to be the champions of justice, the champions of peace and equality and all this, are some of the most horrific fucking criminals that have ever existed in the world. I think Nelson Mandela is an amazing example for this, because I, as somebody that is very, very heavily related to a bunch of Irish people and whatnot, my family, have been fed a bunch of propaganda stuff about the IRA and the greatness of the IRA and whatnot. I am also, as somebody that is a logical human being, completely willing to admit the IRA is a terrorist organization, man. They've done fucking absolutely horrible things. And that doesn't make it okay just because the British government has done fucking horrible things to the people in Ireland. And it's the same stuff people will use as an excuse when you bring up, like what you were talking about there, of people being victimized in South Africa based on the color of their skin because they're white. Then that makes you racist for even bringing it up. It's totally and completely a red herring that they try and do, or a straw man argument, in order to undermine the idea that you're putting forth, that regardless of what color somebody's skin is, they can still be a piece of shit, man. And regardless of whether or not your ancestor, you could literally be directly related to somebody that did something horrible to somebody else. That doesn't make you responsible. And it certainly doesn't justify any monster attacking you and committing fucking atrocities against you and your people. But that's the nature of communism. That's the nature of Marxism. They have to create this divide amongst us and create this jealousy of each other. I'm sure you've seen this with the United States and the Europe, United Kingdom, all this. When it comes to white privilege and many of these concepts, they create this idea of it's a false jealousy. It's an artificial scarcity or an artificial jealousy dichotomy that they create, where you, as being white, are on some fucking pedestal that exists only in these people's minds. And so thus they feel as it's that they are justified in anything they do to you because they're trying to tear you down from that evil pedestal. It's exactly what we were talking about earlier, Scott, when it comes to the envy of the rich, envy of people that haves and have nots type stuff, is the very people that will bitch and piss and moan about how terrible it is for fucking people to have this money or whatnot, are usually the very people that are going to come in later and say, hey, I got a solution for this. We just got to bust in his fucking house, kill him, take his shit, and fucking redistribute it to our little butt buddies, however we see fit. And that action of you guys doing that, if you were to do that, or get the government and men with badges and guns and stuff to do it for you, there's no difference. It's still immoral. It's still evil. But they're doing it right now en masse. I've watched way too many documentaries about what's happening in South Africa to ever let some asshole gaslight me again.
But whether you've seen videos of it or seen reporting on it, you're not allowed to discuss it, Seth.
Yeah.
And that's there's some of the things that Andre is saying. They're now saying you're not allowed to have your opinions about these things, and that's one thing that I think we should all be able to agree on, is that everyone should be able to say what the hell they like, give their point of view, and discuss it. You can't keep banning everything people are saying and their points of view. You know, Andre's should be allowed to say what he thinks happening, and we should be allowed to hear it, and we should be able to discuss it. Everyone should be able to give their point of view. And the moment you start saying you're only allowed to say this, which is what YouTube are doing, I'm sure that they may well ban this episode as well. Anyway, Andre, did you have any other comments you wanted to make before we
guys,
try and bring someone else in?
I'm still watching this American situation and listening to all of this. I just wondered if just some opinion from you guys. This 1-7, have you listened to him before?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
107.
Yeah.
I mean, have you guys got a feeling of who this oak actually is? Who this guy is?
I don't like the way. I didn't like him the first time I saw him, when he doesn't show his face much, does he?
He doesn't show his face.
I think that's kind of arrogant.
What he looks like.
Like, basically, I don't know if you've seen him, Seth, but the video I watched, he had his feet up on the sofa because, hey, he's too covert to let you see his face. You just see his kind of shoes up on a chair, and I just found it very kind of, oh, you're so special, man. We are only allowed to see your feet. I just thought, yeah, I'm not a big fan of his, to be honest. No,
he's done a movie now as well with also doesn't show his face the whole time. Somewhere people thought he's JFK Jr., but I mean he's not. But the thing
think everyone's JFK Jr.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, that's just a whole nother can of worms there. Look, guys, hey, nothing will surprise me, I'll be honest with you, if there were fake deaths. I mean, I can potentially believe that. But the reality is, how long does somebody hide away for?
Exactly.
I think you have to keep an open mind. Like I always say with all the claims they made, you keep an open mind, but you've got to have something. Like Charlie Ward also kind of hangs out with a lot of clairvoyance, and the one that told him Elvis is still alive. It's like, I don't like to mock people, but that's just kind of, she literally just made it up on the spot. You could tell, and it's just like you can't just make stuff up. Of course, keep an open mind to anything's possible. We keep an open mind to everything, but you've got to have something to go on, surely. You can't just say Elvis is alive, but you've got nothing to go on at all. You're listening to a clairvoyant.
I totally believe. There's a fine line between having faith and being stupid, and gullible. I mean, like this whole American story, and now kids are being brought up from the White House. Look, I totally believe there's this pedophilia is rife. All of those people are scumbags in DC, and they're totally filthy to the core. And I believe that it's mutual blackmail that keeps them in line. Totally. So I firmly believe in that. However, I mean, when the goalposts are continuously moved, that part really irritates me. And then, according to them, you don't know how operational things work for the military, and don't be oversensitive. I mean, a year or two from now, we'll still be talking about this.
Yeah, well, and as you just brought up, you don't know how things work on an operational sense of the military. It's interesting that so many of these guys tend to bring that up, and that they know how things work. Like, it's almost like they're working for an army psyops unit or some shit. I don't want to have to just make claims there or anything. I believe, wasn't it a quadrennial intelligence is the people that everybody was saying QAnon was? The quadrennial intelligence program that they have there.
But guys, here's the best part. 150 miles worth of gold was found under the Vatican, and it's worth 10 quintillion. God knows how much money that actually is, but anyway, 10 quintillion. Basically all all debt is going to be forgiven worldwide. And,
Yeah,
that
was supposed to happen in January.
Best you go buy yourself a penthouse soon because, or somewhere on the beach because you're going to get a freebie in a few months' time.
What irritates me so much about the Charlie Ward gang is when they make these ridiculous claims, like they were saying in come January, everyone in the world is going to have all their debts forgiven and they're going to be given shitloads of money, and then they say, and you're an idiot. They kind of make out you're an idiot if you're you're so closed-minded. You're such a sheep if you don't believe what we're telling you. It's like, and then of course what they're telling us has been proven to be a pack of nonsense.
Yes, like Charlie Ward, all debt will be forgiven and, everyone will be a multimillionaire and you'll be able to focus on things that you enjoy. But please still pay my 11 euros every month for my Insiders Club.
You get it.
Yeah.
Still buy my products.
They can be... They can be very patronizing as well. Like the thing that also irritates me is when they kept saying, come January and February when Trump's back in power and all your debts have been forgiven. I even heard one of them say you'll live much longer than normal. That we're all going to have to guide and help these people who don't understand what's going on. We'll be there to help them. It's like, how more patronizing can you be,
Yeah, and the med beds are going to come and you're just going to lie in there and your limbs are going to grow back and, everyone's going to be cured of cancer. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. It got to... Yeah.
I think
a
those
ridiculous
technologies
level.
do exist, but the reality is it's I mean, and I don't know if you guys picked up now as well. Recently, everyone is a secret space program guy who left his couch 15 seconds ago and did 20 years service and in another timeline and came back,
Trump was a time traveler as well. He came from the future, just like the Terminator.
Yeah. 15 seconds, I leave my couch. I do 20 years service in the military on the moon and Mars, and no one even realizes I've left the couch.
That's
at
pretty
home,
handy.
and the age regrets me, and I come back, and it's wonderful. And a few years later, I have all these memories, and I start making money off my bullshit stories.
Well, yeah,
everyone can say thank you for your service.
Andre, come on, you telling me the Galactic Federation doesn't sound like the least cheesy shit you've ever heard in your entire life? Fuck.
No, there's the Kruger. The main one is the Kruger group. Yeah, the Kruger group that they were all recruited by, and I mean, these guys are obviously read too many space novels. Huh?
Well, yeah, but people will buy it, and especially when you have something like Donald Trump does the Space Force type stuff, instantly all these morons act as though, well, that justifies everything, I believe. That's why they need a Space Force, and it's the same.
And if you ask for evidence, of course, then you're the bad guy.
Yep. It's almost like they're just like the mainstream media. How amazing is that, huh?
Yeah, nice. So it just gets too much. But guys, great talking to you, and I'll post that link there about that 30 points about Charlie's Ward in the comments there, so you can maybe watch it. It's quite interesting, and you can read about his little get together with Jimmy Savile. So that tells me everything about the guy. What did he say when he said no? At that stage in my life, now looking back, my moral compass wasn't right.
He'll say I was a naughty boy. He always says that. Yeah. Andre, I wanted to thank you for chatting. I wanted to thank you for joining us, and also if you want to post some links, also maybe go to our website because we might get taken down soon. So I started a new forum on the Truth Sentinel website, www.truthsentinel.co.uk. So if you can post your links on there, it'd be good. Great to start.
No, I will do. I will do 100%. Thanks, guys. Have a great day and a good week or two down the line. All the best. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Andre.
Cheers.
Thanks again.
Cheers.
Yeah, it was good to hear from Andre again. It's great that we've got some of these regulars coming now, Andre and Luke, and
I'd
now
love
Brittany.
To do a show sometime, especially if we're not worried about like getting taken down or anything like that. I would love to do a show with Andre about the political situation, everything, social situation in South Africa, because I feel like so much of what's happening right now in Europe and America ties 100% into that, and how they're dividing people along racial lines, and they're actually using, especially in the United States, radicalized African-American people, as they'd call them, to attack other people en masse. And you see it on things like Twitter, the fact that Twitter will get rid of all this stuff that's evil, potentially inciting violence, and yet they'll literally have giant compilations of black people assaulting white people on Twitter. They'll have all sorts of stuff like this that is, regardless of whether or not we're talking about what racial group doing this or anything like that or is doing this, it's very telling of their priorities. You know what I mean? When it's something that fits into their particular narrative and paradigm of radicalizing a certain group of people, then they'll do it. And I have no particular hard on for black people at all, man. I think that everything that they're doing for them is poisoning their community 100%. And it actually leaves them the worse off for it as well. And I mean, we all suffer because of this shit. And yet they want to act, the very people that act as though we're all about love and equality and racial diversity and all this stuff are some of the most closed-minded, bigoted, fucking hateful, racist people you ever seen in your entire life, man. That, like,
yeah,
I think Andre just brought up, attack random white kids in the fucking street for no reason other than the fact that they're white.
I think people get quite militant about their beliefs and soon forget, like those people who used to go into abortion clinics and kill the doctor. It's like, oh yeah, that's really the great thing to do. Aren't you a nice guy?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think I can definitely see like an apartheid system between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated developing. I can see that happening.
Yeah, fucking A. Well, and I think that's exactly how it's going to be, man, because you notice they push the racial angle and everything when they can, but the division and all that, still, all of it leads to the exact same place, which is a totalitarian, despotic government that most closely resembles the Soviet Union, but for the rest of the world, thankfully. It's I've known so many U.S. military personnel that so many veterans that all say the same thing of it feels like being in a bad fucking dream, a nightmare I can't wake up from, of having trained my entire life to fight this great enemy, the communists, the fucking Soviets and whatnot. And then their system falls apart, right? And I have nobody to fight. And then they fucking destroy my government, take over my society, take over everything here. And what am I supposed to do? I'm now the bad guy. I'm now the alien. I'm now the fucking the monster, the fucking the terrorist, the bad guy in my own land without them having to fire a single shot. And it's what they always used to say. They'll take over the country without having to fire a single shot. They'll take over the world without having to fire a single shot. And that's true, man.
Seems to be what they're doing.
They've used emotion. And that's, if you notice, that seems to be their calling card every single time, as they prey on people's emotion in order to get them to stop thinking rationally, stop thinking logically, because when they think emotionally, they're willing to fucking do almost any goddamn thing.
Yeah, and that kind of comes down to things like recently I read on the news that vitamin C and iron doesn't help you towards COVID. You've got to have the vaccine. And Brittany has said in the chat, what are your thoughts on the environmental theory of disease, which I believe was developed by Florence Nightingale in the second half of the 19th century, if we're to believe history. I think it's basically the idea that your environment around you contributes to healing you from whatever ailment you have, ventilation, cleaning, lighting, heat, noise, odors, and what you eat. And basically it seems like I don't know if this really ties into what to the environmental theory, but it does seem that we're being told that all those things that you think make you healthy and could stave off disease and viruses, ignore all that. It doesn't help anymore. Vitamin C is no good.
Well, yeah, and it's stuff that we've been told our entire lives, and suddenly it's no longer trust any of that. I mean, you remember, Scott, at one point right before they had the vaccine, they were talking about that we can't just have people get the COVID and get over it, because herd immunity, that's not a thing anymore. And suddenly, the second they have the vaccine, we have to give enough people the vaccine to maintain herd immunity. Interesting.
The logic has really gone out of the window with the whole vaccine thing.
Gymnastics on a daily basis that is like fucking Olympian level mental
gymnastics. It will put an end to everything. No, it won't put an end to everything. It won't change anything. You still have to socially distance and wear masks. Dadbod has put in the chat. The truth is, the black community needs to fix it within their own community. before they start blaming white people. On that note, I accept any and all races and judge character. But do you know that everything is racist now? That if you say I don't even see color, then you're racist because you should see color. You're denying someone's roots.
Well,
if you don't see their color
group there, Scott, as somebody who's fucking 28, when I was a kid, all of that was supposed to be swept under the rug. Everybody just treats you, you know what I mean? Treat them like they're a human being. Granted, I live out in buttfuck nowhere, so I don't have some of the problems that a lot of inner city people had. But it feels like having been raised to be completely fucking worthless on their entire for their entire paradigm. Because now, if you're against racism, you're racist. If you're not racist, you're actually double racist. If you say that you're not racist, you're the most racist of all. And it's just fucking insane, man. It's fucking insane. It is the mental gymnastics of the 1984 George Orwell thing. It's why I don't really want to all the way jump into the whole Joe Biden is ruled by the fucking you know who's over in China, but it reminds me of the 1984 thing of, because last election cycle it was Donald Trump and the Russians. This election cycle it's Joe Biden and the Chinese, and it feels like whatever the next guy is, it'll be the same thing, and so on and so on and so forth, just kicking the can down the road again. And people will buy it, man. People will buy it, and they'll get so huffy and so angry about this other country and all this shit, despite the fact that their greatest enemy are the people in the country's capital, regardless of what country we're talking about. That's their greatest enemy, are their own politicians that fucking control the goddamn system. And it's the same thing when we were talking about the Trump impeachment that they were supposed to be doing here. Do you think Donald Trump is ever going to run again successfully? And if he does succeed, then we know that it's completely fucking staged.
Yeah, that's the
you
whole.
Feel me, right? Because they wanted to bitch this whole time about how it's all fucking completely set up against them. There was a shadow campaign. Let's call it that, a shadow campaign that was waged against them so that they could not win. They had no chance whatsoever. And then somehow he's going to run again later, and that's going to be different. You'd have to be one naive motherfucker to actually believe that, man.
Well, one thing I've really noticed is that the people who admit I must be careful now. The people who think there was something wrong with the last election, and they're 100% certain there was, are still looking to vote and talking about, oh, we need to make sure this happens with the Republican Party. It's like, what didn't you get about the last one? Didn't it show you this was all a joke anyway? So I don't understand
especially
that. I think
with Republicans there, because why the fuck are you going to start voting for a Republican Party that, when it comes down to it, won't unite, won't unify, won't immediately circle the wagons or any of this shit? No. They'll actively go over to the people that are trying to crush them and be like, please don't crush us. We'll help you crush those evil other ones. What the fuck is that? Why would everyone sees this? And that's why I think it's also part of the demoralization campaign, is they try and create one party government and all of the fucking nations of the world. Every single major player, they're trying to do that, of create one party. I mean, for Christ's sakes, that's what exists in China. There's a reason Xi Jinping has been the fucking president of China for how long now? Yeah. Same with Vladimir Putin. Good old Vlad the dad over there. Still seems to be in power. It's amazing, isn't it? He's just so popular. He's almost Joe Biden levels of popular, we could say.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a reference to some of these comments again. Osseo tried to join us. And then I just wanted to let you know, Osseo, I did see you there and briefly. So you were in the room. I just need to add you. So try that again, and then I'll bring you in. So you did get into the room. Some other comments. All roads lead to Rome, and that's the truth. One political entity wants both the sword of temporal power and religious power to control over as puppets. They control nearly every government. I certainly think there are some religious institutions that have great power, like the Vatican and the Catholic Church. No offense to anyone who's Catholic. I'm sure a lot of the followers are well-meaning, but the actual institution itself is corrupt and full of all kinds of evil coming from the Vatican. Honestly and unfortunately, that is the sum of it. Okay, I think that was talking to Brittany. Yeah, sorry, carry on, Seth.
I think the solid. I see Dad Bod there bringing up. I do acknowledge, and I'm not taking away from anyone that's gone through racism or intolerance. Yeah, dude, I totally get you, man. You're completely fine, man. I don't think anybody's going to be thinking projecting some ridiculousness on you. And if they are,
We don't
they're
do
probably
that
not
here.
somebody that's listening to us, anyways. You know what I mean? The only people that are worried about that kind of crap aren't the sort of human beings that listen to us, man. Most of the people that listen to us, and most of the people that honestly are just not part of mainstream stuff in general, tend to judge the contents of what you're saying and not just the surface level of what you're saying. So don't trip on it, man. You're totally cool, and we got
Yeah,
with you, man.
100% cool. And to be honest, I don't know if you're the same, Seth. I think you probably are. I'm pretty much cool with listening to anyone, anything anyone's got to say. I might not agree with it. I would honestly, I think, in the past I would have had a white supremacist Nazi on here and have a debate with them.
Yeah, well,
have
you
an
had the wife
interview
of
them.
an ISIS member, man. I totally get
I had
it.
an ISIS wife on
Yeah.
here, and I would talk to anyone and treat them with some respect. There might be some people who I might, if we get to the real dregs of society, there might be some people who are
Charlie
who
Ward.
are
Like, I
No,
procured
Charlie-
children for fucking goddamn Jimmy Savile. I'm just saying that's one of those things you can say that if you say it directly to me, I'm gonna have a hard time still
Yeah.
giving you the same respect I'm trying to give somebody else, because I'm like, no, don't be victimizing
absolutely.
children,
But
dude. That ain't
if
okay.
Charlie Ward came, I'd still.
Yeah.
I treat people with respect, whether they deserve it or not. I
know,
might get
like
upset. I might get upset with. It takes a lot to get me upset with someone, but it does happen. And to be honest, if you push me over that edge, I tend to get very upset. So, but generally, I just think everything's best out in the open. It doesn't matter, just because someone has disgusting views doesn't mean you can't. It's actually a good idea to get to the bottom of it. That's why I think it's good to have interviews with serial killers and people like that. You've got to try and understand what the hell's going on. All this recent stuff of the last sort of, I don't know, what is it, 5 years, where if you chat to a serial killer, you're condoning what he's done. If you speak to a white supremacist, you're a racist. No, you're totally not.
It's because they don't want us talking to each other, Scott. Because if we talk to each other, we see that overall, even people that we're told are so extreme and so evil and all this stuff, with few exceptions, most of us are the same kind of people. Most of us are just humans, man. Even when we have all these divisions, all these dividing lines to make us all different, all of us are still human beings, period. And that's what they want to try and break that down, is the fact that the guy that has the evil racist viewpoint that is so fucking horrible still has usually a wife and kids, still usually has a life, still usually is part of a religious organization, still usually is part of giving something, has done good things in their life for other people. But you're not allowed to bring any of that up, because it's whatever their sin of the day is, it completely and totally dehumanizes someone. And of course, the reason they're doing that and projecting that is not because they want to help anyone. It's because they want to victimize you. And that's why they'll try and create, oh, wow, cool. I just saw your little thing slide across the screen. That's cool.
I just did that by accident. but now I'm glad I found that tool. Yeah, that's
Yeah, we can figure out how to do that for other stuff too, of just little bits of information.
Oh yeah, because when we talk about someone's comments, we can actually display them here. Just to let you know, Seth, all you have to do is hover over it and click plus, the plus sign. I don't know if you have that option. Maybe you don't.
Yeah, I don't think I don't.
Oh, you don't have the power, Seth. Sorry, I've just got a bit of a power trip then. I might be able to give you the power somehow, but I don't know how to do it yet. Let's see. I just wanted to remind you, and here's the link on the screen here. You see, if you go back up the chat, I posted the link quite a few times now. If anyone wants to join us, or see again, you can. I saw you try and join us. Please do so again. I think you were getting in fine. I just needed to add you to the stream. That's all. Let's see. What's the time? Let's see. Let's do a time check. Okay. Well, it's 1:30 a.m. I could probably go on for another 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
I'm going to cough now, Seth. So I'll hand over to you for a second.
You're good, man. You're good. Let's see. As far as we do still have one more big article that's actually worth covering here. United Nations chief reappoints billionaire Michael Bloomberg as climate envoy. Very interesting stuff. I have a feeling you're going to have something to say about that, Scott. I have a feeling most of our audience members might have something to say about that. But let's get a little bit into this as I bring up this ABC article. Come on, man. Okay, there we go. Berlin, the United Nations says American billionaire Michael Bloomberg has been reappointed as the special envoy to engage governments and businesses in tackling the threats of global warming. Interesting how it's global warming and not, oh, never mind. Next sentence, it's climate change again. Never mind. Bloomberg, who has long campaigning on the issue of climate change, was first tapped for the position in 2018. The UN said Friday that Secretary General Antonio Guterres wants the former New York mayor to, quote, mobilize stronger and more ambitious climate action. Oh, God. Leading up to the November Global Climate Summit. This should be nice. The summit
should be interesting.
By a year.
Seth,
yes, sir.
Let's try and add Aussie because
okay,
he's on the side there. Sorry, I had to cough there. By the way, if people in the chat can let me know when I left the room because I was coughing and I left Seth there, could you still hear Seth? Because I did get one message and I don't know if they heard that, but let me know in the chat if everyone could. Could you still hear Seth when I left the room? Anyway, let's add Aussie and see what Aussie's going to say to us. Hi, Aussie. Welcome to Truth Sentinel.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
You're
I know
I've
been subscribed to your channel, Scott, for like a few years. Not the most dedicated listener, but I'm glad to see that you're still around making content.
We're glad to see you.
Yeah. So I only came in at like the tail end of the stream. We could talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I think you guys were talking about vaccines, the impeachment. So like,
oh yeah, whole lot.
Kind of different forms of BS.
Michael Bloomberg is now the new UN or United States envoy to the United Nations on climate change. So that's good
that's
times.
Hilarious. Okay, I wonder how many metric tons of carbon he's put into the air just through his private plane alone. But that's fine. I'll have billionaires who consume more than I could in 10 lifetimes. Tell me what I can't do. Tell me I can't have my AC on, or tell me I can't eat meat because of climate change. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's something that I'm not someone who's going to sit here and say that the climate isn't changing, because of course it is. The climate has always changed in the history of the earth. And I'm not even going to sit here and say that, hey, humans have zero effect on the climate, because we probably do. But what I guess I am saying is that what could be probably considered a natural change in climate is being weaponized against just regular people, by people who by people who just don't like the masses too much, and they want to have a reason to call us. And for us, we consume too much. There's too many of us. That we eat too much. We waste too much. There's too much, and they just want to. Yeah, it's not a secret that there's some quote unquote elite out there who want to kill a lot of people. Didn't one of the
Prince Charles that wanted to be reincarnated as a deadly virus?
Prince Philip.
Prince Philip.
I was gonna. I didn't remember which prince, but yeah, exactly.
It was Prince Philip, and if you look at him, he looks like an evil son of a bitch. But I wanted to say, I think you're right. I definitely think whatever your views on climate change, it's definitely part of the agenda is to start making you think negatively about the population that is around you. And if you ask a lot of people on the street, should there be a cull, you'll be surprised that a lot of people are actually for it. Like they don't mean themselves, of course, but they'll say, yeah, I think nature should cull part of the population, just not me and my family, But personally, I think there's plenty of room, and I think it is. Like most people, I want to breathe clean air, and my problem with the climate change agenda is not so much whether it's happening. It may be, I don't know. the fact that they want to force me to say it is happening has always been an issue with me. Like, don't force me to say it's happening. I don't know if it's happening, to be honest. But you can't force me. It's another one of those views that you have to accept that climate change, man-made climate change agenda is happening. And I don't know. So yeah, what do you think, Ossie?
I mean, I think so. I guess with regards to the science, I mean, with regards to like human anthropomorphic or whatever anthropogenic climate change, I would argue that if we do have an effect, I think that it is relatively small compared to the effect that the Earth's axis wobbles every like 12,000 years or something like that. The sun does not produce a uniform amount of heat. The sun might burn a little hotter, might burn a little cooler. That would have an effect on the climate. I think that when you make humans the ultimate cause, then of course, what other solution can you come up with besides, well, we have to kill some humans? But I think that I agree with you, Scott, that the overcrowded meme is a myth. I think there's that one statistic of like, oh, everyone in the world, every person in the world could like fit in the Grand Canyon or something like that.
Yeah.
So what that says to me, of course, not everyone wants to live in Arizona or wherever the Grand Canyon is, Nevada, both. But what that says to me is that, well, we aren't utilizing our resources wisely.
Exactly.
I think that the world has plenty of space for the humans on it if we just didn't waste so much crap. If we weren't, there's no law that says that we have to use plastics. There's no law that says that we have to that we had to go into nuclear energy without doing the proper research of how to dispose of fission material. There's no law that says that we have to, that we have to consume the way we consume. If we consumed resources more wisely, I'm not talking about communism. I'm not talking about fairly distribute everything, but not waste as much. I mean, I used to, as a teenager, I worked at McDonald's. Just one McDonald's, I could not tell you how much food they wasted.
Yeah, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of food.
It's ridiculous. Every grocery store wastes tons of food. Every restaurant wastes tons of food. There's no reason for it. It's because it would be more expensive to, resell it or give it to those less fortunate or whatever. Yeah. It just because they'll lose a few pennies or whatever on the back end, so they don't do or whatever.
It's not just food either. It's not just food.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I know there's lots of huge organizations and companies destroy all their computers after like a year or two because they consider them out of date, and they take them out to the skips. They could sell those things or give them away for free. No, I know companies that deliberately smash them up so that that's it. Nobody can use them. They do it deliberately,
A great example of that is the aeronautics industry of how many obsolete airplanes now just get to sit in a giant fucking graveyard for indefinitely because they're just sitting out there in the desert gathering dust. And so that's I'm sure that's great for the environment. It's the same thing about munitions, especially in the military. A lot of times when they have old munitions, they will literally get service personnel to go dump it. And I don't mean in a landfill, dude. I don't mean legally. I mean, they literally get them to go out in the boonies somewhere and dump it, usually in a fucking river or something. So yeah. And this is happening everywhere. Yeah. This isn't just some small thing. So I totally get you. I think that's a big aspect of it, of waste. Then also, as you brought up when you got on the show here, is that the people that are telling us to do all of this are some of the worst people in the world. Like the people that are the least qualified to tell you, or have the least right, the least what do you want to say, foundation to stand on, are the very ones that want to control all this. It's Michael Bloomberg, who produces more CO2 than any human being on Earth for the most part. Somehow he's gonna change it all and help us all. It's the same thing with Bill Gates or any of these guys that have a particular view of things, of humans are so dirty and gross, yet these very people are the ones that are partly responsible for human beings so quote unquote dirty and gross and wasteful. So it's
but they're allowed to, Seth, because they're giving so much back to society, so they're allowed to do whatever the hell they like.
Oh yeah.
That's their argument anyway.
My whole other problem with the whole, I guess, mentality of how these people, the John Kerrys and the Bill Gates, and how these people want to attack climate change, to me, it comes off as, like you said, they use climate change as like a stand-in term for really humans because they want to tax or limit carbon, which is what humans output as our energy. That's what we put out into the world when we eat or when we move around, we go running or something, or breathing out carbon. So if you want to tax, it just feels like, they want to tax, the farming industry because there are too many animals, there's too much methane. They want to attack, but I feel like it's going to get to the point where, oh, well, you're a human, you put out whatever, a metric ton a year, we have to tax that carbon. And if you can't afford it, then whatever, you can't eat beans because they make you fart, whatever it is. If you make it okay to just tax carbon, which is life, all, mammalian life or whatever, everything that's not a plant is going to put out carbon as its output. You're taxing life. I don't think that, first of all, I think, let's say there is no human made, or let's say whatever, climate change, it doesn't matter who's causing it. Instead of, trying to tax life or limit, productivity or something like that. And like I said, I think that we could maybe burn things a bit cleaner. Maybe we don't have to use plastics and things like that. But let's say
use plant-based. There's lots of plant-based bottles being made now, hemp seem everybody's good,
Yeah, you can make hemp out of anything, but or you can make anything out of hemp. But wouldn't it be more, I think, intelligence? Like, let's say, oh, it's not humans causing climate change. There's just climate change. Wouldn't it be more intelligent to sort of like do long-term planning? Like, okay, if we know that in 100 years, maybe we should build up an infrastructure in these countries to withstand what we believe will be the effects of climate change, whatever that may be. And we should start to develop areas or get ready to develop areas that will be opened up by climate change. If climate change was a natural thing, like if we assume that humans had no bearing on it at all, and it's just the sun burning a little hotter for the next couple thousand years, or the tilt of the earth, or something like that changing because it does wobble. Like I was reading something about how the Sahara used to be a jungle, and it's just because the earth the orbit isn't uniform. Wouldn't it be smarter as humans to be like, okay, well, we know the world is changing. Let's start building up infrastructure. Let's start planning for the future so there is no great upheaval and mass starvation. And, let's learn to desalinate water. Let's learn to farm more sustainable. I mean, I don't know. I don't want everyone eating bugs or anything, but, we could do more long-term planning instead of trying to just limit productivity and limit human output. Yeah, I guess that's how I view it. But
yeah, I am somewhat skeptical to the whole. I mean, I agree with you on most of these things about, I really do think we can do things a lot better. But I just think, first of all, I'm suspicious of people who pretend they care about the environment when they don't care about humanity in general. Right. It's been proven from their actions. So when they suddenly seem like they care about the environment, I'm skeptical. And I also think scientists don't fully understand the human brain and how it works. And yet, some years, a decade or two ago, they couldn't even predict the weather accurately for the coming week. And now we suppose they understand the entire ecosystem and what's happening. And I think that's bullshit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you notice, they use terms again, like climate change is a great example of this. And you brought it up even when, as you said that, I don't think, not saying that there's no change to the climate, because they use truisms. They use terms that, like, for you to even question it, because of course, what were you saying? The climate never changes, when in reality, when you're questioning the climate change agenda, you're not questioning the idea of whether or not the climate changes. What you're questioning is the anthropogenic impact of man upon the climate and what that entire idea. But you notice they dumb it down in a way that makes it so that it's easier to defend without actually having to engage with you intellectually. They instead just go, oh, you're one of those morons that think the climate will just stay the same forever and static. When I mean, it's demonstrably untrue, but it seems like the easy outs that a lot of these people will use. Or of course, it's the same as the ad hominem attack of saying that, wait, you don't care about the environment? You don't want to tax people out of existence? So wait, when did you start hating nature? Why do you hate trees, man? I'm like, dude, the average person on the street can't just buy a fucking electric car and be able to do all, you know what I'm talking about? They don't just get some extra money when, let's say, the Biden administration bans entirely gas-powered cars, and whether or not that actually happens is just a hypothetical. Let's say that happens.
Right.
It's not like they're going to give the general public all $150,000 to go buy a goddamn electric car. You're just going to be expected to not, and then eat the cost and stuff. It's so myopic that people will act as though their solution that is a emotive right now, emotional solution is going to not have any negative repercussions, whether intended or unintended in the future.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's myopic. They're just looking at the here and now. It's almost like they aren't actually trying to help people. I think, it's all just an agenda. I will agree. I mean, what you said sort of reminds me, it's sort of like, well, the virus. It's like, let's not argue about whether or not there's a real virus or not. But like when you try to question, it's like, okay, well, should we really be, locking down the country and destroying small businesses and destroying human connectivity and increasing depression and all of these terrible things, for something that has, if you're under 70, a 0.01 mortality rate, and then people will go like, oh, what are you saying? It's all a hoax? Are you questioning the virus? Or
do you want people to die? No. Oh my God, why do you hate old people? Yeah.
Exactly. So no, it's not that. I'm just saying, is the response appropriate for what's happening? Again, it's sort of
not
like
appropriate.
Climate change. It's not. Oh, with these models, the virus models, millions of people are going to die, just like with climate change. Oh, these models, we have these models. The world is going to be a matchstick in 10 years or whatever. And it's like, well, models are,
models are useless.
They're useless. They're computer simulations with limited data. Like you said, we could barely predict the weather 20 years ago, and we're trying to model millions of years of the Earth's weather, and
it's
we don't
literally
have the data for it. It's
literally guesswork. A computer program that guesses the future. But if you call it a model based on algorithms, it sounds better. But it's literally a guesswork machine.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's completely ridiculous.
There's something you said earlier that really resonated with me, and that's the idea that rather than when they talk about carbon and all this and the tax on carbon, they're talking about humanity. And that feels the same thing when you brought up the virus. That is exactly it. When they keep talking about the virus and we're for the war on the virus, it seems way more like they're talking about humanity, because so many of these people that are behind the Bill Gateses and stuff, you notice they're behind the climate change stuff. They're behind the green revolution, and they're also behind all the vaccine stuff, all of the rollouts when it comes to locking the whole world down and everything like that. And of course, they in the same level there talk about how we're a war on the virus. I noticed that the very wartime language, especially here in the United States and in the UK. I can't speak for any other place, but those two in particular, they use so much wartime language of frontline workers and oh my God, what's it? We have to have curfews and lockdowns and all this sort of stuff, which are very, very military and militant type ideologies. I mean, they anthropomorphize the virus into being what is the term Scott and I always laugh about? Oh yeah, the lady that said COVID is smart. COVID is smart. It's smart. You gotta watch out. It'll sneak up on you guys. And all this. They're anthropomorphizing it as though it's a literal enemy of some dude like in a fucking ISIS mask in the goddamn baklava waiting to like sneak into your house and get you. It is so. And
the one of the worst terms is essential people and non-essential people. Like when the cull comes, the non-essential people better hide somewhere because they don't need you.
Right. And it's funny how the essential people are just the worst treated usually in society. Maybe not all the time. Some of them are doctors or whatever, but like grocery store workers, fast food workers,
postal workers.
It's ridiculous.
I like the way in their view, clothes are non-essential as well. But here in Thailand, and I know it's happened in lots of other places, during the lockdown, you go into the supermarket and they have a clothes section that's all gated off. The clothes are still there. You're not allowed to buy them. It's like, so there's some logic behind that, I'm sure. But yeah, you're just not allowed to buy them. That's happening in a lot of places, you know. Like clothes are non-essential items. It's like, so you better get naked get used to being naked because you don't need clothes in the future.
Well, same thing with seeds.
Or it's
how many stores will lock off their seed section and everything like that. This is non-essential. Gardening is non-essential. Interesting. Almost like there's a particular agenda at play.
Yeah, and Brittany,
you know,
Brittany said in the chat there, models are made with maths. Maths is a language; it can describe anything. I can make a math problem that show Harry Potter in a parabolic dive. Does not mean it's real. Yeah. Sorry, Ossie. Please go on.
No. It's that was funny. And the thing about, you know, essential and non-essential businesses, it's like, okay, Walmart can be open because they sell milk or whatever, but this small, you know, mom and pop convenience stores close, even though they also sell just milk and whatever little foods or things like that. And it's like, well, what's the logic there that every big box store, every business owned by a billionaire gets to be open? Everyone has to go there now. There's no choice. There's nowhere else to go because every small business has been closed down. And so are you saying that small businesses aren't essential? And at least in America, if they close down your business, you're effed. There's no, I mean, they're not going to pay your employees for you. They're not going to pay your rent. There's no way for you to make money because they'll give you $1,000 tickets for even opening up, $10,000 tickets, $15,000 tickets. And so they're also saying that the only things that are essential are serfs, are people who pick our food and who, you know, our doctors or whatever, and the big box stores, our billionaires are essential. Everyone else,
entertainment is not essential.
Yeah.
And yet in the United States, at least, pornography is essential. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
The movies industry, nothing like Hollywood being considered essential. I mean, didn't Cuomo win a Emmy for his performances? I'm just saying, this is we've officially entered clown world. It feels like sometime in February last year we just decided to jump the fucking shark, and it's never going back. They're never going to be able to close Pandora's box of the absolute insanity. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Cardi B runs for president at some fucking point.
That actually might happen. Gormonger 2 in the chat says they will provide striped pajamas for us.
How considerate of them.
and I've added, and then shave our heads to protect us from lice. Ossie, we're going to probably wrap up soon, but I wanted to ask you, where do you think things are going in the coming year?
Oh God. Well, I try to be an optimist, but I mean, I don't know. There's not much to be optimistic.
It's pretty difficult these days, yeah. But go ahead.
Shit, dude, that's way too real.
I mean, you know, I have to hope I have to hope in humanity. You know, I will be on, you know, you'll be on YouTube, and I mean, for instance, yesterday I was just scrolling YouTube, and there's some ridiculous Vice article about you know, people who believe in conspiracy theories are akin to mass. It was like, what's the difference between a conspiracy theorist and a conspiracy theorist who uses those theories to go commit a mass shooting? It was some ridiculous article that was basically comparing, like, if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a dangerous mass shooter.
And well, that's happening a lot, yeah.
Oh yeah, but when I looked at the comments, every comment was like, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, you're dividing us, like, what, you know. So I was like, okay, there are people out there who are aware of the BS that the media is trying to put out, and I have to hope that, you know, I it's when you know the truth, you know, what is it? The truth is a stubborn thing. I think John Adams said that or something like that. I have to hope that, you know, there are people out there, like people in the stream, there are people out there who are waking up. And if that number can get big enough, maybe we can turn this this trip to hell around.
Hey man, fingers crossed, dude. Fingers crossed.
I have to be optimistic, because otherwise, you know, Otherwise, it's hell on earth. Otherwise, it's China.
For
I mean,
everyone.
there'll be no freedom. There'll be no. I mean, people will be in camps. I mean, and I don't see how you get out of it. This isn't the 40s where a government's control on their people only went so far. Now everyone is connected through I mean, everything is watching you. Everything is listening to you. They're making freaking robots. Eventually that like you won't even be able to fight against. It's a scary time, and I just have to hope. I have to be optimistic, or else, what else is there?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
get it.
know.
Have to agree with you, and I think if we're going to talk on a positive angle, I think you might be onto something with the media. Like, how do we know that we kind of think that the conspiracy theorists or people who don't accept the mainstream view are in the kind of minority, but do we really know that? The media would never tell us. What if 80% of society were conspiracy theorists? We wouldn't know about it. It's clear the media don't tell us stuff like that. So
Right.
and I think, as I was saying to Seth earlier, we need to really form groups now, so that if the worst case scenario happens, we're all in contact with each other and we can all support each other.
I
I
agree.
want to thank you for coming on,
Indeed,
Ossie.
thank
It was
you.
really
That
good
was
to chat
awesome.
to you. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
thank
great.
you.
Hope you'll
Yeah,
join
yeah.
us again sometime.
Oh yeah, definitely. Next time I'll be here. Thank you guys again for having me on. Thank you for what you do. Yeah, and whatever. I'll see you guys next time.
We'll be on again in 2 weeks or so. Hope you'll join us then. Thanks again for joining us. I'm gonna push you out of the room, Ossie, but don't take that as an offence. That's just because we're going to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, Ossie, and also Brittany. That was great, and Andre.
That was awesome. That
In
was
the
super
past,
cool.
we've had Tabitha and Luke, and we hope all you guys will come on, and we'll have some new listeners as well. I wanted to remind you that our last chat was taken down by YouTube, and if we have one more strike, we get kicked off YouTube. So it's essential, after what I was just saying about making groups as well, please go to www.truthsentinel.co.uk, join the forum, and just make a comment, make yourself known. Let's start forming communities. I've noticed that there's other groups on the net that are doing the same. We can create giant communities, not too giant actually. We can create lots of small communities that keep in contact with each other. The communities keeping contact with each other. We have whole networks of people, and we can help each other out if things get really bad. Brittany says we can change it. Only takes 1,000 people to force the change. Just think about the French Revolution. Yeah, we can. We need to form groups.
Well, and I would say also one of the important things about forming individual groups and whatnot, not having everything united under one single roof, or one single banner. Same thing with not having a particular cult of personality leading anything, is when you don't have one leader, they can't cut the head off the snake. And that's exactly it. That's why we deal with the Hydra that we deal with of trying to defeat these people, is because there is no single head that can be lopped off the snake, because one will just take its place, and then two more, and so on and so forth, right? That genuinely feels like we have to take a similar approach to that in order to be able to fully combat these people. And it's the same idea of being able to unite people with a common ideology that still has enough difference to it, enough leeway between everybody, that people can go into their individual groups and whatnot, because each of those individual lesser groups, or cells, let's call them, can effectively fight and can effectively promote their ideology, can effectively defeat this system by a death of 1,000 cuts. I mean, there's a reason our government was never able to defeat a bunch of people using AK-47s and living in goddamn caves and huts and shit in Afghanistan. So it's worth thinking about. But anyways, I was really nice to join you guys. Really nice to talk to everybody. I'd love to hear from any of our past guests again. Anybody that was here today, thank you for joining us. Would absolutely love to hear you again on another show. If we can manage to not get banned from goddamn YouTube, that would be nice. But dealing with what we got to deal with, and hopefully in the future, Scott and I can figure out how to get the videos to play. That would be really, really cool, because then we can intermix not necessarily skits or something like that, but just little bits of news stuff, just so we can have backup to what we're talking about and interject little bits of media into there. That would be really, really cool.
Absolutely. I'm not sure why that didn't work. I think what we might need to try next time, Seth, is we both come out of the room, we both switch our mics off, and then we put the video in, and then it might work. We'll try it. We'll keep practicing.
Sure.
Yeah, I've just Ossie just said, can you put that forum URL in the chat? And I've just added it. I've just added the forum. Anyone who's listening today, either to the live show or to the recording, try to go to the forum, join a discussion. Let's try and organize a group. Try to subscribe to this channel, Truth Sentinel 2, Truth Sentinel 1. Come to the Facebook page. All the links are on the Truth Sentinel website. Let's make that the central place. We'll keep doing these live streams for as long as we're up here, but they're going to kick us off soon. And you, because anything you say, they're gonna say that's unacceptable, like they did last week. So please come and find the website, and let's make the forum the place where we can meet, and I can send messages about where we're going to move to. We are on BitChute. It hasn't shown up there yet, but Seth says it takes a while before you can find it.
And then videos and stuff like that before they actually start recommending you in their search bar. I know I dealt with that for quite a while. I'm at like 60 subs on there now, and my videos finally show up in the goddamn feed. So I don't know if it's a time thing or what it is, like an amount of videos, amount of views, and engagement, interaction. I have no idea what their algorithm is, but I do know that you will eventually show up. That is a thing.
Right, so I'm just going to, before we end today's show, I'm just going to repeat again some of the places where you can find us. First of all, the central place, go to www.truthsentinel.co.uk. Let's everyone go to the forum who heard this show if you can. Bookmark the website. You can email me, scottsentinel9@gmail.com. You can join the Facebook page, the Twitter page. They're all going to go down soon, of course, but let's do it now, and then at least you'll get to hear of when the next episode is, which will probably be in 2 weeks. You can also leave voicemails on the Blogspot voicemail. I've posted all of these in the chat and in the show notes. We hope you'll join us. Thanks again for listening today. Thanks again for joining us, Seth, and catch you all later. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.